Welcome and thank you for joining us for day one of the inaugural Beenleigh District Not-for-Profit Virtual Conference. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the various lands of which we work today and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander persons participating in this webinar. I pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of Queensland and wider Australia. My name is Anthony, and I, along with my associate Stefanie, will be your host for this two-day event. For the past 4 years, I've worked as a Community Development Officer with Beenleigh District Community Development Association, or BDCDA for short. BDCDA is a small not-for-profit charity with a rich history of working with and empowering the local community. We're also responsible for the day-to-day operation of Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre and the Beenleigh Supported Accommodation Service, and have been for many years. Planning for this conference has been underway for the best part of a year. The conference was initially to be held in person, consisting of a 3-day event, including network lunches. We were tracking well with this arrangement, busy canvassing potential venues, sourcing catering estimates, and assessing audio-visual equipment. And then, wham, the COVID-19 global pandemic was upon us. Suddenly, a room full of people sitting side by side and lunching together was completely out of the question. We ruminated over our options. Should we postpone? Should we cancel? Or should we find a third way? Video conferencing had reached peak popularity during the pandemic and its associated restrictions. So we decided to investigate whether it would be feasible to hold a local conference without the hosts, presenters, or attendees being in the same room, let alone the same venue. We mulled over the various video conferencing platforms and settled on Zoom webinar. We are cognizant of the fact that much larger conferences have been held in similar circumstances over vaster distances. However, for a small not-for-profit, this has been quite an undertaking. I would like to thank you, our panelists and attendees, for joining us on this special journey, because without your engagement, enthusiasm and support, this event would not be possible. The underlying theme of the Beenleigh District Not-for-Profit Virtual Conference is mitigating the silo effect. Whether we like it or not, organisations in the third sector are often under-resourced and frequently find themselves focusing the lion's share of their efforts on ensuring continued, often meagre funding through performance reporting, endlessly applying for and quitting grants, competing for scarce funding opportunities, and meeting KPIs and deadlines. Such is the impact of managerialism and the post-welfare state on our sector. While this can leave little time to reflect and focus on the true reason we do what we do, it is important to keep sight of what matters: people. People are the lifeblood of human communities and societies. What does community mean to you? To me, community is the intersection of the individual and the collective. We can view our respective organisations in the same light. Organisation X is an individual, Organisation Y is an individual, and Organisation Z is also an individual. If organisations X, Y, and Z become acquainted and establish a working relationship, we now have a community of organisations. History is littered with references of people working together to achieve common goals. One only needs to consider the ancient Greek maxim, united we stand, divided we fall. We need to be realistic though. This conference isn't going to break down all the silos within the Beenleigh District not-for-profit community. However, it is an important first step. If you come away from this conference knowing something about and having the contact details for at least one organisation you knew nothing of prior to the conference, then this event, in my eyes, has been a success. Thank you again for your support and engagement. I'd now like to hand over to my co-host, Stefanie, to say a few words.
Thanks, Anthony. That was a wonderful introduction. And I would like to start by thanking Anthony and the Beenleigh District Community Development Association for the opportunity to support this event It has been truly fantastic collaborating with Anthony on this conference. So my name is Stefanie. I've been working at the Alcohol and Drug Foundation, which is a national organisation, for the past 8 years, and the last 3.5 years have been within a community development role, essentially supporting community organisations across Victoria and Tasmania to plan, deliver and evaluate evidence-informed activities aiming to prevent alcohol and drug-related harms. So in a nutshell, a lot of that work is around community connection. And I had the pleasure of connecting with, excuse me, with Anthony through my studies through Griffith University. Sort of following on from what Anthony was saying, he and I have been having quite a few conversations over the past few months in planning for this event. And we've talked a lot about the current circumstances in this big and unusual year of 2020 and its impacts on community, the challenges and the silver linings. And it's been interesting that a couple of the things that we've certainly agreed on, which essentially fall into some of the key principles of community development, is that knowledge and collaboration is power. Many of us are working probably harder than ever, supporting clients, individuals, families, groups and communities to look after themselves, look after each other, and make informed decisions about their health and well-being and any circumstances that are within their locus of control. So I really think the timing of this event is quite ideal, as Anthony was alluding to. It's that time to be increasing each other's knowledge and understanding of the work that we do and what we offer the Beenleigh community. It's that time to explore opportunities for collaboration if we have the capacity to do so, which essentially then leads to reducing some of those silos that are quite prevalent across community work. Before we move into our fabulous keynote speaker, we would like to acknowledge that this is a virtual conference and our fantastic presenters all have varying experiences with using online platforms. So we do appreciate your patience and understanding if a few minutes are required to ensure our presenters are feeling ready and comfortable to go ahead with their presentation. And of course, we may encounter the odd scenario where someone may forget to unmute themselves. We are all human, and this has certainly happened to me a number of times over the past 5 months. So, and it is the reality of the world we're in at the moment. So thank you in advance for your patience and understanding. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Stefanie. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you throughout the planning process, and most definitely without you, this wouldn't have been happening. So I'm very grateful for your assistance and your guidance throughout this whole project. Okay, so in 5 minutes' time, we'll be hearing from our keynote speaker, Chris Mundy. So for now, we're just going to go quiet for 5 minutes, and we will be back at 9 a.m. Thank you. Welcome back. I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Chris Mundy. Chris is the Sector Development Officer for the peak body of neighbourhood centres across the state, the Queensland Families and Communities Association. Chris has worked in the community sector for over 20 years in the areas of youth and family support, post-adoption support, community development and volunteer development. He has conducted studies in theology, psychology and international and community development. In his own time, Chris is a fan of science fiction, Xbox, rainforests, and travelling. Thank you so much for joining us today, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk at the Beenleigh Nonprofit Conference. I think it's fantastic that it's going ahead virtually, and I think it's a testament to the versatility of neighbourhood centres and community development workers, and the skills that Anthony brings to the table. I think it's great how neighbourhood centres in particular often look for creative solutions to social problems. And that'll be a little bit of what I'm talking about today, as I talk about going back to our roots in community work. I'll just share my screen with you all. There we go. And I will just start my slideshow. Great. So it is the late 19th century. It's the Victorian era. London is a city rife with the widespread effects of industrialisation and urbanisation. It saw consistent increases in crime and poverty and a growing population of uneducated children and adults. As Charles Booth maps the dreary streets of London town, he takes out bottles of coloured ink to highlight the suburbs living in poverty and crowded conditions. The gap between rich and poor is wide. 30% of Londoners are living in poverty. Streets where slums existed, well, Charles Booth coloured them black, which Booth described as lower class, vicious and semi-criminal. Light blue streets are described as poor, 18 shillings to 21 shillings a week for a moderate family. On the other side of Hornsey Road are two streets coloured dark blue, defined as very poor, casual, chronic want. And the streets with the wealthy residents are coloured red. So in a primitive way, Booth is data mapping local neighbourhoods. He's looking at the demographics of each street and locality. He identifies the features of each place, the type of housing, social infrastructure, levels of income, crime rates and education. Charles Booth, he conducted surveys and interviewed local leaders to fully understand what was going on in local communities. His work would be used to introduce things like the age pension and free school meals for poor children. In 1884, two other social reformers emerged from London. Church of England minister Canon Samuel Barnett and his wife Henrietta, who was a school teacher. And they recognised the growing levels of poverty in London's East End. They purchased a building called Toynbee Hall in the middle of the Whitechapel neighbourhood. Their approach was different than traditional forms of charity in which welfare was simply just handed out to those in need. Instead, they felt it was their Christian duty to work with the people themselves, allowing them to identify what their issues were and target the underlying causes of poverty. The Barnetts provided residence to university graduates at Toynbee Hall who could provide local people with education and conduct research on the systemic causes of disadvantage. As they lived amongst the people, the residents of Toynbee Hall ran social groups, art classes, community programs, and addressed local issues. They were engaged in political activism and lobbied for the welfare of local labourers. This local place-based approach to addressing community problems began spreading, and the local halls became known as settlement houses, named after the settlements, otherwise known as neighbourhoods, in which they were located. And throughout the 1880s, the idea of settlement houses spread to the United States. Members of the social gospel movement, inspired by the works of Tolstoy and others, visited Toynbee Hall to see how settlement houses worked with, rather than for, local people. Most notable of these was Jane Addams, who established Hull House in Chicago in 1889. Hull House was a rundown mansion in the poor immigrant areas of Chicago. After Jane had visited the Barnetts in London in 1887, she established the United States' first settlement house. Using female university graduates, local research was conducted on the local causes of poverty, illness, and housing. Working with the population, community programs were established providing education, medical care, social groups, even things like garbage collection. Jane Addams went on to become the founding mother of the modern social work movement. She was the first woman to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931 for her work in establishing settlement houses, promoting world peace and encouraging social reform, especially in the area of women's rights. Settlements were characterised not by a set of services, but an approach. If the original stimulus came from sponsors outside the neighbourhood, the approach consisted of moving into the needy area and then reaching out in a friendly way to the neighbours and deciding together with them what was wrong and what was needed. In cases where the initiative came from Indigenous neighbourhood leaders or organisations, the program has been flexible and reflected neighbourhood judgment about priorities. And because of this, settlements have ranged widely in the activities they've provided. They've pioneered in nursing services, clinics and convalescent homes. They've taught English and citizenship. Kindergartens began there, as did experiments in trade and vocational training. Settlement workers studied housing conditions, working hours, sanitation, child labour, and they use these studies to stimulate protective legislation. They work to remedy abuses by loan sharks and pawn shops. And always there are activities which brought fun and fulfilment to life, things like music, art and theatre. The list is as varied and as changing as the needs. These settlement houses continue to spread around the Western world, eventually making their way to Australia in the 1960s and early 1970s. In 1973, they received federal support through the Australian Assistance Plan under the Whitlam government. And today across the world, they are known by many names: settlement houses, neighbourhood houses, community centres. But in Queensland, we like to call them neighbourhood centres. Neighbourhood centres have evolved over time, yet their roots in local community-focused activities is still a main feature of their work. Some neighbourhood centres have formed larger corporate structures and amalgamated to pull together resources, while others have remained as local community-governed associations conducting grassroots work. Some centres are operating social enterprises to offer local employment opportunities and increase funding, while others operate without any government funding to retain full community ownership. Many are responding to the natural disasters in Queensland in their neighbourhoods, and most respond to people experiencing personal and family crisis. Due to their history, neighbourhood centres have a unique identity in today's human services sector. Key features are that they're located in geographical areas to impact certain places. They conduct local place-based community development. They run activities which build social capital and community connection. Where they offer services and support, they're community-orientated services and support. And they work with, in partnership, local businesses, clubs, governments, NGOs, health services, faith-based organisations, and other stakeholders to address local social concerns. Neighbourhood centres facilitate citizen-led community change and support people experiencing hardship. And now for over 135 years, they've continued to assist with housing, employment, advocacy and poverty, while offering playgroups and activities and workshops and migrant support. They offer flexible solutions to local problems, each offering different responses relevant to their own unique local area. So as we consider the history of neighbourhood centres and that of the modern social work movement, we must reflect on some of the core foundations of what it means to support local people and local communities. All too often, it's easy for community organisations to get trapped in the McDonaldisation of their services. And McDonald's has been really effective at setting up a local franchise in each area, offering a standard menu that's efficient and convenient. They even offer free Wi-Fi as well. And to some degree, community organisations have become more effective at offering standard service delivery menus to community needs in a more cost-effective, efficient way. Even for some organisations, we have 1-800 numbers, where ordering a service almost becomes like ordering a pizza from Pizza Hut. However, as much as I'm a fan of the odd takeaway meal, nutrition is a much bigger issue than grabbing a Big Mac and fries. And likewise, people and communities are far more complex and diverse in their issues for us to take just a franchise approach to all communities. Firstly, the early social reformers recognised that traditional approaches to welfare did not address the systemic problems of disadvantage. In the words of Desmond Tutu, there comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. Many of these early organisations formed close partnerships with students from universities to research the deep causes of poverty and then design responses, not just around the symptom of the problem, but around the cause of the problem. And their responses involve the participation of the people themselves in the work. In London, they facilitated local people to become their own political activists to address workforce issues. Kindergartens and playgroups were eventually run by the community, empowering local women and increasing their opportunities. In the United States, projects occurred to reduce illness through things as straightforward as just establishing a local rubbish collection system. Many of our organisations in the modern context put all of our emphasis on the symptoms of problems through the handing out of food or the giving of a voucher or delivering a program. Now, on the outside, funding these programs appears to be the ideal solution for government and other funding bodies. When someone is hungry, the solution is to just feed them. It looks like you're fixing the problem. But addressing the causes of hunger, that's a lot less appealing to funding bodies. That's more complicated and long-term or too hard or a wicked problem, as they say. For many of us, our evaluation is focused on what we're doing or on individual outcomes for service users, which is all well and good. We need to know if we're making an individual difference to someone's life. But these early social reformers, their research explored what the corporate issues for communities were, the systems and the structures that needed to change in order to release people from the oppression of poverty and poor housing and other disadvantage. This approach requires a rediscovery of community development methods, working with local communities to enable them to address their own issues rather than just a top-down service delivery approach. It will mean forming close relationships with university and other research organisations to more deeply explore community issues. It will mean listening to groups of people and connecting them with the resources they need to make change. It will mean forming partnerships across many different sectors to address multifaceted social problems. And it will mean putting the local community as a key focus of our work, rather than the organisation or the professional practitioner. Secondly, and closely related to the first, the Barnetts and the Adams of the early social reform movement did not offer standard services across all of their settlement house locations. They recognised that each community was different and the issues in each neighbourhood were different. Hull House in Chicago had a high immigrant population, therefore needed a different approach to Toynbee Hall in the London slums, who were affected by industrialisation. Neighbourhood houses have continued this tradition. The programs at the North Townsville Community Hub with monsoon affected residents is different from the Tara Neighbourhood Centre that work with drought affected locals. Inner city Brisbane neighbourhood centres work with a different homeless population than Maroochy Neighbourhood Centre. In the community sector, it seems we often like to come up with models that can be replicated in each community to suit our funders, which has worked well for us, particularly after the austerity measures during the global financial crisis. However, increasingly, funders are realising that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't fit everyone. And there are increasing numbers of people falling through the gaps in the system. Funders are starting to look for local place-based responses to local issues. We can't approach communities with just a standard menu of Big Mac style services, because communities are diverse places with complex issues and complex needs. And this will often mean that we need to take a hard look at the services that we're offering and ask whether they are really suitable for our communities. They may keep us in a job, but do our services exist for us? Or are they there for the people that we serve? It may mean keeping overall models of service delivery, but tweaking them on the ground to make sure they're relevant to the local community that we work in. So for instance, a counselling service in Weipa looks very different from a counselling service in Fortitude Valley or in Beaudesert. The community partnerships that are formed in Toowoomba may be very different to the ones that are formed on the Gold Coast. This again requires listening to local people and really understanding the complex issues they are facing in order to make sure what our organisation is offering is suitable for all types of people in our community. The social reformers were especially concerned about disadvantaged people groups and the gaps between the haves and the have-nots. Thirdly, the early settlement houses were not afraid to be involved in social activism. As well as working with the people, Jane Addams was a key leader in the women's suffrage movement, and the activities of Hull House sought to empower women facing poverty and disadvantage. Toynbee Hoare was involved in activism to lobby for workers' rights during an era when workers were being exploited and working conditions were extremely poor. And I recognise that for many of our organisations, we've been given funding contracts that restrict us from lobbying on social issues, while for other organisations, they may have more freedoms to be more outspoken on social issues. The early social reformers, the work went hand in hand with advocacy and empowering individuals to create structural change. We must look for opportunities to encourage local people to be involved in social reform on the issues that affect them. As community work professionals, we often think that these need to be big social justice issues. But we need to use our discernment to figure out what the social issues are on a local level and find strategies to create social change with local people in a way that brings about sustainable change. So ask yourself, what are the common social themes in my community? How are they being addressed on a local level? Who do I need to build partnerships with in order to address these? And advocacy doesn't always need to be boisterous, angry, and loud. The suffragette movement was born in Manchester, the centre of textile production in England. Women in Britain began lobbying in mass numbers for social and political change, often creating and brandishing embroidered and patchwork banners of silk and velvet. But even today, there are many local community groups involved in the gentle art of craftivism. They stitch hankies and they send them to local politicians with words like, "Don't blow your opportunity." If lobbying is forbidden in your funding contract, then get creative. There are groups around making quilts and artworks and so forth, and using these to capture the attention of people who are decision makers in policy reform. We can learn a lot from our foremothers and our forefathers as we tackle the modern problems of our time. We need to not only treat the symptoms of social issues, but address the underlying causes. We need to be flexible enough to change our approach to be relevant to local communities. And we need to stop being afraid to speak and act upon the issues that affect the communities that we work with, in bold but gentle ways, in order to create neighbourhoods that are self-directed, connected and resourceful. That was our vision at the QFCA when we sat down to think about what the end game was. We discussed a lot of ideas, but at the end of the day, we just wanted to see neighbourhoods transformed into thriving communities that are self-directed, connected and resourceful. It's a vision very similar to Charles Booth, James Adams, Samuel and Henrietta Barnett at Toynbee Hall and Hull House, and the movement of neighbourhood centres across the globe. I am just having a look through for any questions that are in the chat, or if you'd like me to expand on anything.
There's no questions per se, Chris, but just some great comments. Fantastic introduction is a comment. Really enjoying what you're saying and aligns perfectly to the Logan Together movement and the work that is happening.
Excellent. Thank you all for your really positive feedback. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Chris. What you said I found really poignant, particularly the McDonaldization of some of the services in our sector. I found that quite interesting. It sort of tied in with what I was talking about as well. Like, you can't really have one size fits all, but a lot of things are going that way at the moment.
Yeah, that's very true. And to some degree, I think the funding environment actually caused that. After the global financial crisis, there was a lot more of a tightening of the belt in community services. And governments and funders particularly look for efficiency in the way that community services operated on shoestring budgets. But I think the consequence of that now is that we're seeing that many people are falling through the cracks in the system. And there is a consequence for not conducting community development and not having the emphasis on community development and addressing the root causes. Eventually, they're going to leak out somehow.
All right, Chris. We seem to have one open question here. Angela from the Logan Together Backbone team has said, "Chris, can I meet you after COVID restrictions are lifted?"
Yeah, sure. And you can meet me virtually beforehand too.
Okay. Well, after the conference is completed, I can share contact details if you're both happy to do that.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, that's fantastic. Okay, so thank you so much for your time today, Chris. That presentation was something else. So thank you so much for participating and enlightening us today on the history of the social work movement and how it's progressed through time. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, fantastic. What an excellent start to the conference. And now up next, we have Natasha Stapleton from Family Drug Support, who is a family support worker. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you. Hard act to follow after Chris. That was fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. My name's Natasha Stapleton. I'm from Family Drug Support. Just before I begin today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we meet today and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander peoples who are joining us today. So, Family Drug Support. Who are we? What do we do? And how do we do it? Family Drug Support is a non-for-profit, non-government Australia-wide service that provides support and education to families and friends impacted by the problematic substance use of a person in their life. Family Drug Support was actually founded by our CEO, Tony Trimmingham, after the loss of his son, Damien, to a heroin overdose. And this inspired Tony to want to provide supports for families in a non-judgmental, confidential environment that acknowledge them on their journey and the difficulty that they're experiencing. We were established in 1997. As I said, it's an Australia-wide service, a non-government organisation. We're a non-for-profit registered charity. We receive our funding from government and from donation, and we are a non-religious service. Just before I begin, I'd like to say for Family Drug Support, our definition of family is anyone who cares: nuclear families, extended family members, blended families, friends, partners, anyone who is caring for someone on their journey. So our goal at Family Drug Support is to assist families throughout Australia to deal with drug issues in a way that strengthens relationships and achieves positive outcomes. Our energies are given in primarily supporting families struggling as a result of drug use. We aim to assist in any way possible to empower families to cope with the realization of their situation and survive intact. The core principles of Family Drug Support are harm minimization. We want to keep people safe and alive. We're family focused, acknowledging, validating, and supporting families where they're at. We don't give advice. We don't tell people what to do. And we're non-judgmental. We don't believe there are right or wrong answers. We believe in empowering families, in harnessing their collective wisdom and experience and supporting them to make decisions that best suit them. We're reality-based. We're about being real and congruent. We recognize differences, acknowledging people where they're at. And we promote self-care, nourishing self physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The FDS model emphasizes the normality of what families are experiencing, providing tips and strategies for coping that empowers families to make their own decisions. So how do we do this? We have a variety of ways. We have a 24-hour support service line that people can call, as it says, 24/7 and speak with highly trained and empathetic volunteers. We really encourage family members to take advantage of this line. It's free, it's Australia-wide, and sometimes, you know, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you need someone to talk to, this is the service that just gets it. We offer regular open local support groups, and I'll go into that in a little bit and state some of the different areas in Brisbane or in Southeast Queensland that we offer support groups. We have our flagship Stepping Stones to Success program, which is a 4-day psychoeducational workshop for family members. We offer regular updates via bulletins, forums, and websites. We also offer our support group online, a virtual support group. So people living in regional and remote areas, or people who don't feel like attending an in-person support group, can access that online. It's not like this where it's over Zoom. It is a kind of family members talking about where they're at and what they're going through, and it's a 12-chapter support group where you can kind of link in at different parts and get some wisdom from other family members. We offer Stepping Forward information sessions, and those are educational sessions which aim to empower families and promote self-care through knowledge and strategies about communication. We link families to treatment services and aid agencies. We're all about volunteering and giving back. We actually have at Family Drug Support over 130, if I'm correct, over 130 volunteers Australia-wide on our support line, facilitating our support groups and working with us in various other ways. And we offer remembrance and bereavement support, and Tony personally takes these calls for family members who have lost their children to drugs and or alcohol. I have heard from families, you know, they've reached out to other groups, to other parents who've lost their children, and other people just don't seem to understand, or they're quite judgmental. They make nasty comments such as, you know, they deserved it. And so we don't believe that at Family Drug Support. We want to support families, we want to acknowledge families and validate their experience. And so Tony personally takes those calls. So our support groups, we offer support groups currently at Nerang, Mount Gravatt, Ipswich, Nunda, Red Hill, Redcliffe, Mitchelton, and Maroochydore. Support groups aim to empower families through promoting self-care, validating their individual experience, offering opportunities to draw on the collective wisdom of other family members, and acknowledging families as the experts in their own lives. The benefit of support groups is that it allows families to speak openly with other people who understand the complexity of their situation and of their emotions. Support groups allow families to feel validated, heard, supported, and promote resilience. So these run once a month in various locations, and I'm happy to, if anyone would like to know the times or dates, I'm happy to provide that information. Then we have our Stepping Forward information sessions, which deliver simple and useful information, free for families and workers to attend. So some of the sessions we offer are stages of change for families, effective communication, alcohol and other drugs information, drug and alcohol treatment options, setting workable boundaries, dealing with conflict, and families and ICE. We have a monthly Stepping Forward information session at Nerang, and we have one coming up. We have two coming up next month in Nunda, which again, I'm happy to provide the dates and information for if anyone would like. Families have said that Stepping Forward information sessions has given them a greater insight into what their child is going through, but also what their family is going through in trying to cope. They've said it's very informative and they would attend more, and recognize that knowledge is power. Then we have our flagship program as well, which is our Stepping Stones to Success program. So it focuses on coping better, becoming more resilient, and surviving the journey. It's about discovering more about ourselves, uncovering options and alternatives, learning new skills, and learning and sharing from others. And this is a 4-day program. It's therapeutic, but it's not therapy. It's actually the winner of the National Drug and Alcohol Award for Excellence. It's an evidence-based program, and it's based on group work, growing on the experience of others. It's psychoeducational. And I've heard from families that they've considered it to be life-changing, and I've heard fantastic reviews. So here you can see what families have said. This course was a lifesaver. It provided skills for me to survive. It opened up new ways of seeing and dealing with myself. It was a great relief and support to be with others. I've realized that what I'm feeling is normal and everyone in the group is at different stages. It's helpful to know I am not alone in this journey. So Stepping Stones, like all of our services, are free to people who are impacted by the substance use of a family or friend who they're supporting. So I just want to quickly as well go over our stages of change for family members. So this was actually developed by Tony based on his lived experience with his son, as well as working with other families and his professional experience. Tony was a relationships therapist before he founded Family Drug Support and dedicated his life to supporting families. So as people who are attending this forum may or may not be aware, there are the stages of change for behaviour. But there is also a stages of change for family members in what they're going through. And the first of those stages is denial. And Tony wrote a book aptly named Not My Family, Never My Child, because family members don't think it will happen to their child. They don't know what's going on. They don't want to know. They might not even really know much about drugs. They might not have been exposed to drugs before. It can't possibly be happening in our family. They're not picking up the signs, or maybe they've gone through all of this before and now they're thinking it's over and they're back into denial and not realizing that their child or partner or friend is using again. This stage, as Tony kind of says, it can be a bit of a honeymoon stage at the beginning, because the person using substances is it can kind of be in the happy user stage, that pre-contemplation in the stages of change. So the family member doesn't know what's going on, or they're not ready to accept what's going on. The person using isn't ready to acknowledge that there's a problem, and everyone's kind of just living in a, happy bubble. But then stage 2, emotions. What is going on? It hits families. Something is happening. They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling angry. But anger often masks a lot of other emotions. Fear. They're afraid. What does this mean? Does this mean that, is my son, daughter, partner, are they going to die? Are they going to have difficulty finding employment? What does this mean for their future? Shame. There's a lot of shame and stigma around drug and alcohol use in Australia. Guilt or blame. Is it something I did or something I didn't do? Should I have done this differently? Should I have done that differently? And grief. Grieving the loss of maybe their hopes and dreams for their child, or their relationship, or the life that they had before that this problematic substance use was introduced. And then stage 3 comes. I'm going to fix this. Control. So we've identified at Family Drug Support 2 different types of control. There's the hardline approach. I'm going to fix this now. Issuing ultimatums. You stop using, or you stop drinking, or you can get out of the house. Very black and white thinking. And then there's a soft line of control. Rescuing, colluding, secrecy, juggling, trying to manage siblings, partners, work, home, taking care of your person, being sympathetic and less directive, and over-involvement. Okay, we're going to find you a treatment service. We're going to do this. We're going to hide from dad that you pawn the golf clubs to get money. They're both control, and they're not helpful for the person using substances, and they're also not helpful for the family member. And then stage 4, chaos. What's going on? Why can't we fix this? Feeling helpless and powerless, not sure what else to do, running out of energy, no support or time out, feeling like they can't do this anymore, blaming others in the family. It's your fault you were too hard on him. It's your fault you were too soft on him. And there's a lot going on in this chaos stage. And families are experiencing, their own individual emotions, their own individual journey with what's happening. But what we hope through education, through support, by reaching out, by people taking care of themselves, is that they will get to a coping stage. Letting go of expectations and agendas and the need to fix. And that's really hard because, for a lot of parents, when their child is a kid and they scrape their knee, you put a Band-Aid on it and it's all better. You want to fix things. But what we do at Family Drug Support is we help family members to get to this stage of letting go. And we do this through our Stepping Forwards information sessions, through our Stepping Stones course, through our support groups, by teaching strategies about how to communicate, how to establish boundaries that are good for the individual, how to promote self-care. And also by recognizing that success, whatever that may be, is completely individual to the family member and to the person using substances. We really recognize at Family Drug Support that there are no right or wrong answers. There is no set journey. We just want to meet people where they're at and provide support as best we can. We don't give advice. We don't tell people what to do. We help to empower people to come to their conclusions on their own. So that's a bit about Family Drug Support. As I said, all of our services are free to family members. We do offer membership, and membership comes with a guide to coping manual, which families have found really useful. And it also comes with a newsletter and various other resources. But for people who don't want to join up as members, they're still more than welcome to attend our support groups, to contact the 24/7 line wherever they are in Australia, to come to our Stepping Forward information sessions. We don't want to present any barriers to people being able to access support when and if they're ready. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Natasha. We do have one question from Angela. Are there plans to set up a support group in Logan?
Yeah, so I've actually just started with Family Drug Support, but I am the Logan Gold Coast. There's only 4 of us throughout Queensland, 1 in Rockhampton, and then 3 of us, in Brisbane. And I'm taking it upon myself. I'm from Beaudesert originally, and I really want to provide more services in Logan. So I'm trying to meet with community centres and services that would hopefully be able to provide us with a space that we can use once a month for free, or twice a month even, to provide Stepping Forward information sessions and support groups. So if anyone knows of any services that would like to help us out, please let me know. Or if anyone wants to work together to collaborate to support families, that would be fantastic. Because right now it's Mount Cravat would be the closest, and then Nerang for people maybe living more in Jimboomba, Scenic Rim kind of area. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Natasha. And obviously your details will be provided out to the attendees to potentially, contact you, hopefully for some collaboration opportunities.
Yeah, of course.
Just a comment from George. This organisation is a terrific template for those of us who want to offer support like you do. Thanks for your presentation. Really structured organisation directly for the issue at hand in stages. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're really passionate at Family Drug Support about what we provide and wanting to just provide people that space to express what they're feeling, but not necessarily to come in as the expert and to have the answers. We really acknowledge families on their journey. But with COVID-19, it is hard with support groups at the moment, as we're all finding. So if anyone would like to refer people, please don't hesitate to get in touch, or in the meantime, let them know about our 24/7 support line. Because it's a fantastic resource, and I really do encourage people to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And Angela just made a comment back to say, great, you will be busy, Natasha. It's a much needed service here in Logan.
Yeah, I'm trying. It is a much needed service. And I grew up in Jimboomba, so I'm aware of the Logan district. So I'm just trying to, as much as I can in this COVID-19 environment, having just started, do as much as I can, because obviously libraries you're not able to access libraries. A lot of community centres are limited to what they can provide. So fingers crossed that this will all clear up soon.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. And just on a personal note, Natasha, we often at the Alcohol and Drug Foundation, we often receive phone calls and inquiries from concerned loved ones. So we often refer them to Family Drug Support, because you're just the perfect organisation and non-judgmental, that real approach to the hardships that a lot of these loved ones and family members do experience. And I think validating their experiences, because it is quite an isolating and hard experience, and especially talking through those stages of emotions and stages of change to almost equip them to be able to provide support as much as they can. So you do brilliant work. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Natasha. So we'll have a little bit of a break, and at 10:15 we will have Katie Hudson, who is a family counsellor at Lives Lived Well. So we'll see you guys back again at 10:15.
Welcome back, everyone. And a big hello to those people who may have joined us since the last panelist was with us. That was Natasha Stapleton. Next up, we've got Katie Hudson. Katie Hudson is a family counsellor from Lives Live Well, and she's going to be talking to us today about their family support services. So, welcome, Katie.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Okay, thanks everyone for listening to me today, giving me some time. My name is Katie Hudson, and I'm a family counsellor at Lives Lived Well. I just first of all like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the different lands of which we're meeting today. In Metro South, I go around to a lot of areas. So these people include the Turrbal, Yugamba, Jagera, Mananjali and Quandamuka people. So today I just wanted to focus in on our family support group, Breakthrough for Families. I just also wanted to say thank you to Natasha, and just to acknowledge the wonderful things that FDS does in this space. We work alongside with them in supporting families, but FDS does amazing things, and I refer a lot of my clients onto FDS for ongoing support after they leave me to their peer group sessions around Brisbane. So they're awesome. So what is Breakthrough for Families? Well, we're a statewide program that's delivered by Lives Live Well. Basically, we're teams of professional family counsellors. We're based in Brisbane, North and South, Sunshine Coast, Townsville and Cairns. And we also support families who are impacted or concerned about a loved one's substance use. We work through Lives Live Well, and Lives Live Well is a non-for-profit organisation throughout Queensland and in New South Wales now as well. It supports people with substance use issues, and it offers a variety of different alcohol and drug treatments and mental health support. So basically we have a Lives Live Well office, Brisbane South team at Beenleigh. So we're in George Street in Beenleigh, and we also have a Beaudesert office in Brisbane Street there. On the south side, we have also many offices on the north side, but today I just wanted to concentrate on our Beenleigh space. So in our Beenleigh space, we offer free drug and alcohol counselling, as well as drug and alcohol group programs, including Smart Recovery, both of which are free. We have a residential rehab at Chambers Flats, which is about 20 minutes from Beenleigh, called Logan House. And we also have a day rehab centre at Woolloongabba, which started just about 9 months ago. That's a free service. So that's for people who are wanting an alternative to residential rehab, that might just want to go to like a daily option. And then we have the family support program, Breakthrough for Families, which I work on. This incorporates free individual family counselling. So I see people face to face in our Beenleigh office in Beaudesert and Woolloongabba, as well as the north side. Also, I can offer virtual appointments and phone appointments, just based on what the client wants, really. And also we do the free information sessions for families. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but we're offering those twice weekly via webinar at the moment. Beforehand, it's been in the community. As we move out of COVID, we'll probably do community sessions and continue our webinar. So who are the kinds of clients that a family counsellor will see? Well, I might be working with a person who is impacted by a partner's alcohol or drug use. Sometimes I see many parents who have a son or daughter who is engaging in problem substance use. I have many grandparents who are clients of mine who may be, for example, the primary carer of their grandchild, but have a son or a daughter with who's impacted by drug and alcohol use. We can see young people from the age of 12 up. So I see teens, adolescents who might have a parent with problematic substance use. And I also even see adults who have just experienced a lot of childhood trauma themselves, if they've been sort of growing up and living with a parent with alcohol and drug dependency. So what family is, it's a range of different relationship types. And also, of course, as Natasha mentioned, family can incorporate anyone who cares, including friends. So sometimes friends, people who have a friend who has got a dependency, they'll come and see me as well. So our family information sessions are a good place to start. We often recommend them before people come into family counselling. We just do a 2-hour session. So at the moment in the webinar, we're delivering 2 1-hour sessions, and they cover a variety of topics, such as exploring underlying reasons why people use substance use. So when I meet families for the first time, they're very often, the alcohol and drug issue is front of mind, understandably. We like to then sort of unpack that a bit and explore what are some of the underlying reasons why your loved one might be using. So, is it to deal with a mental health issue? Is it based on some social isolation? Is it some trauma? Is it managing physical pain? There could be lots of reasons why a person has begun to use or continues to use problematically. And when a parent or a family member understands a little bit more about the underlying reasons, an interesting thing happens. They sometimes lose a bit of their anger and sort of open their hearts and become a bit more, take a more compassionate stand. And family therapy, that's a good place to start. Also, we talk about the interconnection between mental health and alcohol and drug issues, which are very interlinked. We talk about harm minimisation. So if your loved one is not wanting to change their substance use at this point in time, what are some ways you can help them stay as healthy and safe as possible whilst they're continuing to use? We talk about communication strategies, how to, for example, effectively open up honest and non-judgmental conversations about the substance use issues with your loved one. Can be tricky to do, but we talk about a few tips that can sometimes help, as well as how to manage conflict in relationships and in the family home, of which sometimes there's quite a bit. Talk about establishing boundaries, and I think Natasha mentioned this in her presentation, you know, how to, often family members feel a bit powerless. They feel like they're walking on eggshells around their loved one, even when chaos is going on. And this is not really an effective long-term strategy for themselves as well as their loved ones. So we talk about how to establish that. And then we give an overview of the different alcohol and drug treatments, for example, that Lives Live Well can offer, as well as other alcohol and drug support agencies in the community. We talk about how to respond to challenging behaviour, such as escalating mental health situations, as well as, for example, perhaps violence when a young person, such as a son or daughter, might be using. So how to manage these kinds of things. Safety planning for your loved one, as well as other family members and yourself. We also talk a bit about maximising the wellbeing of children, if there are children in the home front when some substance use is going on. And just self-care for themselves. Often when we meet families, they are burnt out because they've been struggling with this for a long time. The petrol tank is empty. They need to start looking after themselves as much as, or even more so than their loved one who's using. So we really talk through this kind of thing. This is just a couple of slides I brought out from the information sessions, just as a bit of a sort of indicator of what things we might cover. So we talk about how when there's problem substance use, you can be on a very different page to your loved one who's using. So for example, say in the context of a partner, you know, partner might think, oh, you're not thinking about our children, whereas the partner who's using thinks my kids are everything to me, but sometimes I hate myself as a parent. One person thinks you don't care about, you're keeping your job, you know, with your drug use. Person who's using says, I'm overwhelmed by work and the drug calms me down. Person thinks, if you loved me, you would just stop. Other person says, well, I love you, but I don't want to lose you, but you don't understand how hard it is for me to stop. So often we're on a very different page from our loved one. And that's important to kind of recognise. We talk about the stages of change. Natasha was mentioning about the stages of change that families can go through. This is we also talk about, you know, stages of changes that a person who is using alcohol and drugs will go through. And based on where they are at, as in your person, we talk about some effective strategies to support them. And it's really about following your loved one, so where they are at first. So for example, if they're in the not yet phase, the pre-contemplation, they don't want to change their substance use, what are some things you can do to support them? Well, it's about beginning some open, non-judgmental conversations with them, thinking about harm minimisation and communicating to them about that to keep them as safe as possible. That would be one way to support. When they are about having a go, when they're doing action around their substance use, you can support them in a different way. So it might be, you know, supporting them by recognising small changes that they're making to their substance use. We remind families that substance use change often takes a length of time. It doesn't happen overnight. So there's a degree of patience that's sort of required. So there are different strategies that family members can adopt based on where the person is at in terms of their substance use change. We also give some advice about supporting young children in the home if there's problem substance use. So, for example, having an honest conversation about what's going on, but making sure it's age appropriate. Listening to how a child feels and reinforcing that they're not to blame. Often small children feel like any problem in the family is because they've been a bad boy or a bad girl, because they're in an egocentric phase of their life. So we really emphasise how important it is to assure children that they're not to blame. Identifying other safe adults outside of the family home that they can immediately sort of call, or that they can see easily to get things off their chest, because often they don't want to talk to mummy about it if it's happening in their family home, because they know how upset mummy can get about it when they bring up this topic. Assessing for any risks in the home. Is there any drugs that they can get their hands on, any drug paraphernalia, things like that. And amidst the chaos, children benefit from really healthy routines and time spent with people who care about them. So how to maximise their well-being whilst there's a bit of chaos going on. We talk about the different treatment options, of which there are many, and rehab is not for everyone. There's not a one-size-fits-all. So we talk about, you know, for example, at Lives Live Well, the different alcohol and drug treatments we offer, such as the counselling. What is alcohol and drug counselling? What does it involve? Detox and withdrawal, which is not a treatment in itself, but needs to be followed up by either counselling or rehab. We talk about our rehab services, so the difference between residential rehab and day rehab. Some people prefer one or over the other. We talk about peer support groups, how they can help a person move on, and pharmacological treatments as well. So we go through those different examples. And I think the great thing about our service is we provide at Lives Live Well a wraparound service. So we have the family support, but we also have our alcohol and drug teams working alongside us. And, you know, what often can happen is that a client might be in an alcohol and drug treatment program, and then their loved ones will engage with us whilst their loved one is getting alcohol and drug treatment, which is a wonderful time for families to be getting informed about how they can continue to support their loved one well after they've left a Lives Live Well rehab. So it works in harmoniously, often very well. And, you know, sometimes I'll see family members, they'll first, and their loved one hasn't engaged, that's fine. Their family members will go home and talk to them about, you know, Breakthrough for Families and what they talked about. And that can sometimes pique the interest of their loved one, who might then engage with Lives Live Well for their own support. So it's a beautiful kind of wraparound service. We also offer an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander yarning circle, which has been developed by the Queensland Aboriginal Islander Health Council and Apuna Pima. We've gone out to Aboriginal communities in different parts of Queensland and talked to them about the strengths that they have in terms of managing alcohol and drug situations in their community. Many strengths there. And we also reach out to First Nation family workers to see if they'd like to use our material with groups that they work with. So to refer, basically really easy. Family members can just call our 1300 number, Lives Live Well. You don't need any GP referral or anything like that for family support or for alcohol and drug support at Lives Live Well. You can also go to our website to refer. You can contact me directly. I invite workers or any family members if they want to ask me questions or refer themselves on my number or my email. We also have a specific Breakthrough for Families email that you can contact. We prefer individuals to self-refer, but workers can refer on behalf of an individual if they have the consent, verbal consent of that individual to have their details passed on. So that's it in a nutshell. Just some feedback from some of our BFF Breakthrough for Family clients, which is nice to hear. I won't read them out. You can just have a look at the slide. Okay, and yeah, thank you very much. If you have any questions, happy to answer any.
Thank you for that, Katie. Much appreciated. Lives Live Well is a fine organisation, and me working for BDCDA, we've operated in the neighbourhood centre in Beenleigh. We've referred many clients up to your Beenleigh office, and we've only ever received positive feedback. So we appreciate the excellent work that you do.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
That's okay. We haven't had any questions come through, but you have provided your contact details, haven't you?
Yes.
Yep. And I'm going to send all the details around after the webinar anyway, so
Awesome.
people will get in touch if they need to.
Great. Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Katie. Okay. Next up at 10:45, we're going to have Mr. George Anderson from 4207 Hope. He'll be joining us to talk about the fantastic work that that group. It's not an organisation, but it's a group of individuals and like-minded organisations working towards some common goals. So we'll look forward to hearing from George at 10:45.
Okay, welcome back everyone. For those who have just joined us, it's been a wonderful morning, a good start to the conference. So this morning we had Natasha from Family Drug Support and Katie Hudson from Lives Lived Well talk to us about the brilliant programs and services that they offer, supporting individuals, families and loved ones. So up next we have George Anderson from 4207 Hope. Who will be presenting to us next. Welcome, George.
4207 Hope is 4207, you know, is the postcode for Beenleigh, or the Beenleigh area around here is what we really want to focus on. In Beenleigh, we've got so many people that for many, many years have been working directly with those who are in need. And 4207 Hope was formed by a man called John James, bringing a group of people together who are all the helpers and doers in the Beenleigh area. And those helpers and doers are people who've got their own clubs and businesses and organisations that are out there on the street. They're actually talking to the people who are in need. We're not only talking about homeless, but we're also talking about people who've lost their job and don't have a place to stay, can't pay their rent, or are just down and out. Those people all have got other people in the organisations around Beenleigh who are helping them. So that's what we've formed 4207 Hope for, specifically that there are so many organisations in Beenleigh and everybody thinks that there's somebody else out there doing it, but they don't really know who or what those figures and statistics are from the Beenleigh area. And that's what 4207 is going to hope to do. First of all, we are all locals. Every one of us in the organisation is a local person who is there on the street, has met people and talked with them and has helping, has in their blood, is making everybody out there know that there's someone that cares. So as helpers, we're on the street, we're meeting people, have been for a very long time. What we want to do is provide the opportunity for people to have a daily change. And that daily change can be anything. But the best change that they can get is that somebody coordinates all of these 20 odd organisations so that the information about what they do gets to the people who need that information. In regard to what Hope is planning to do, if you hold up your hand, you can look at it and say, okay, the first thing is people who are in need, mostly they need food. And we've got people who help to provide food for people who are in need. And the next finger is clothing. And you tend to think sometimes they need a jacket, but you know, sometimes those people just need underwear or just a t-shirt, shorts, shoes, or a hat, a beanie. And we provide that. We know people who are going to provide that because 4207 Hope doesn't design to actually be the supplier, but we know who will help. And that's what we actually plan to do. People need blankets all the time. And sometimes they just need a tarp. But we know where or how we can get that to them so they can use it and be secure and safe. Most of the people in need have an issue with medications. And it's not always a drug issue. related to a drug problem. It's a health problem that might need to be looked after. So we don't want to do that either. We know people who are already in the market and making that as a part of their life. Their daily life is to give help with medications. But sometimes the homeless or the people in need don't know where to look or where to go to get that name and that phone number and meet with the address with that person that can supply them with their medical needs. The fourth thing is counselling, and that takes so many avenues. Sometimes it's just a chat, just somebody that they can actually put their head on their shoulder and talk to them. And that talking is a way of expressing the ideas in their head and the thoughts that they're having, and has somebody else who's actually been there as a counsellor to just listen. The final thing obviously is shelter. We all think that people who are homeless need to have a place to live, okay, which is sort of when you're living in a home and you've got your family around you and you think that everybody is going to be the same. That's what they want. But it's proving in the world that some people are quite happy to be rough sleepers. They're quite happy not to be in the system. Well, part of 4207 Hope is understanding that we're going to meet those people and we've got to do for them what they want to have done for them. And that exercise is part of the whole process. So when we're talking about, if you want to change the slide for me, please. Our plans as an organisation or community or group is to, first of all, coordinate the helpers. We're talking about 20 plus organisations just in Beenleigh, and these are businesses and organisations and individuals and clubs and churches, etc., who have all been putting their hand up for a long time. So they know what they're doing. And by bringing all of these people into one place to be an easy access for people who are new to Beenleigh or those who have been around for a long time, we can coordinate the benefits of each of those different organisations without doing the number two, which is don't reinvent the wheel. We don't, as 4207, we don't need to know how to cook sausages. There are lots of organisations already out there who are doing it very well, and they do it on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or throughout the week. But if you don't know where that organisation is going to be, then you can't go and have your sausage. You can't get your clothing, things like that. So when we don't want to reinvent the wheel by going out and doing something that's already being done by another organisation and doing it really well. So the third thing that we can do to help is to create a homeless booklet for Beenleigh. In this homeless booklet, we'd expect to have at least 20 to 30 pages, it's looking like. And in that, the homeless people, as an example, can carry that booklet around with them. We had some advice from a homeless man who said that when he received his booklet from Logan City Council, it was fantastic. And he carried it around for ages, because what it was he could open that booklet and just turn the pages to where it needed to be and find somebody's name and address. Well, we want to do that for Beenleigh and coordinate all of these helpers who already have a business. Part of that homeless booklet relationship is that we've got to get the information out to the people who need it. At the same time, we need to provide some information for all of the people in the community who know about homelessness or people in need, but don't know what to do. So that's part of the homeless booklet concept, is to provide information, is to give that information to people who are really, really wanting to be there to help. Okay, when we've got the medical help as part of our plan, is to make sure that the people who are doing medical assistance in Beenleigh are known. That's their names, their phone numbers, and their addresses, so that those in need can go to that place and get the help that they want right now. So where to go for help and who provides the help, who to talk to, and their names and numbers is really, really important. Those numbers are out there everywhere. You can look and find them, but we want to put it into one place for Beenleigh. finally, the emergency shelter scenario is that we plan to provide shelters for emergency, for families, for individuals, and for transitional housing that's leading to permanent. That's what our goal is we think that everybody wants to live in a permanent residence. What people are finding in the homeless world is that in the homeless organisations around the world is that when they get into permanent, they no longer are called homeless, and they have a different mindset about themselves. That's what's making a difference. Thank you. So next slide, please. These organisations have been here for a long time. One that I didn't get a logo for, but that was On the Edge, and she's been basically looking after people for over 20 years. Nikki has been at her cafe providing, not for 20 years, but in her cafe in Beenleigh, she's been providing meals and showers for people who are homeless and needy for a long time, because that's what she wants to provide. The cafe, or the charity On the Edge, has also got the op shop right there by the charity, by her cafe, and she offers a mentoring system and a counselling system for girls and for people who are homeless. They've got a company called On Q. Okay, On Q is disability employment, NDIS support. We've got school leaver support. Then there's Rosie's. Most people know the name Rosie's, but they're friends on the street. That's their logo. That's their motto. Okay, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, they're at the Beenleigh train station, and you've got that night light right there in the centre, where you've got John's out there with his street vans and his volunteers, who are basically sitting and talking with people and seeing what their needs are, and then helping to support those needs at the moment, right at that time. He told of a person he bumped into a while ago, just recently, a man who'd basically just been split up and was walking the street with bare feet. And so he picked him up and took him to a petrol station, and they had a pie and a drink and just a discussion about how things were going to progress from there. And that's what Nightlight is known for, you know, just really good, helping people and helping them to find their way. And there's the Restore Ministry and Salvation Army and Quota. All of these organisations are people who've joined and become a part of 4207 Hope. We just want to advertise and promote the things that they do. You've got Logan City Council with Karen Murphy, John James, who's the person that came up with the 4207 Hope idea, said she's a real linchpin in all of the coordination of the people who are doing the helping relationships around Beenleigh. It's exceptional how she's helping out. And now that she's in Logan City Council, she's just diverted her attention into all of the areas around Beenleigh, but she is definitely a Beenleigh person. And that's coming from Logan City Council. But you've got people like in sync with other churches, other organisations are making such a difference. You've got Life Connect, who is helping people on the street. So he's talking to people directly. You've got Fishers of Men and Quota, as I said. The Salvation Army has their program called Everybody's Home Campaign, which is to help people to find a place to be. Home may not necessarily be your own place, but it might be to go to be with somebody who is wanting to help you as a needy person. You've got Brigalow Country Community Club, and Max has been finding equipment for people who are disabled for so many years now. He's been providing a service called Country Escape, which is music, and people go over to his locality, and for about 4 hours, twice a month, they get a band singing their music, and even some of them singing on stage. It's just our role as 4207 Hope is to provide people with the information about who's out there to help you, and that's one of the focuses that we've got. Okay, you've got PRS, who's in Beenleigh, providing assistance for drug people, and you know, in the past there's been some interesting things said, but as a as an organisation, there are just so many people who are taking assistance from PRS because of their needs. And when we start to provide that information, it changes what people think and feel about somebody else. It's about another organisation. Wesley Mission has just been powerhousing with the things that they do for all of the needy that they work with. That's part of their whole role as a church. You've got Kingdom Hope and the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre. They all are there to make information available for somebody who has a question, and that question needs to be answered. Otherwise, their life can't change, can't get better. That's the whole point. There's a company called Sheltered by Grace who provide accommodation for people who are homeless. It's all of these organisations are workers in the community. 4207 just wants to combine the information about all these organisations and what they do and who they are and where they are and what they can provide as a service. That's what we want to do as 4207 Hope. One of the other things that we are doing, that we're got tied up with, one company has called themselves 4207 News, and this is an online digital magazine that's providing an opportunity for all of the people around Beenleigh, clubs and organisations, businesses, to advertise themselves, because Beenleigh at the moment doesn't have a regular newspaper. So this is going to be a regular fortnightly news magazine that comes online, and it's free, you can get it, but it's got pages of information about whatever needs to be told is happening in Beenleigh. And suburb by suburb, there are 17 suburbs, so-called suburbs, around Beenleigh now. They're all going to get an opportunity to talk about what they do. That's what the whole point of 4207 News is about. So just in closing or in a recap, if you think about the 5 things that 4207 wants to achieve, the first one is food, second one is clothing or blankets, and the third one being medications is help for those people who need some information about where to go. The fourth is counselling is really important. Here's the shoulder to lean on. Why don't you go talk to this company here? And the fourth one is there's a possibility that there's going to be shelter coming available, or we already know who's got shelter, and this one might be available right today. That's what, as 4207 Hope, we're a Christian community group that are making a difference in how all the information now can get out to the community that needs it, which are the needy and the homeless. And we're really happy to have heard those discussions today. Chris Mundy talking about Desmond Tutu saying, you know, everybody's falling in the river and we got to pull them out, but we actually need to know how they got in the river. Well, I think we're in a situation as a local helper. They're already in the river. We're the ones who are pulling them out, and that's what we'll try to do better. And thank you all for being here today. Have a good day then. Bye.
That was wonderful, George. Thank you so much. Although we couldn't see your face, we can certainly hear the passion in your voice. That was really quite fabulous. And I love that you're using this conference presentation as an opportunity to promote some of the other organisations that you collaborate with, which is really fabulous, because you're absolutely spot on. It's about not reinventing the wheel and just understanding what other organisations are doing and offering and connecting people in need with those, and obviously also providing people with information, which is also incredibly important. So George, we do have one question from Barbara. Where can I pick up a booklet?
Barbara, we're making the book. Am I online?
Yes, we can hear you.
Barbara, we're compiling the booklet at the moment. We've gathered about 3 booklets that have been made from Brisbane and Logan City, looking at the information that's already compiled by them, but we're just compiling it now into a booklet for Beenleigh. And we've got, I think, 2 more meetings, which our meetings are basically fortnightly. And in those 2 meetings, the compilation will be finished. The design and the way it's going to appear is more or less decided. We've just got to put the information into it. Finding people here today and over the next 2 days of the conference will give me a lot more information to put into the book, because those people like Natasha and Katie, we need to put their information in there so people have got that as a reference. This is how we talk to this person. This is what they do. You know, it's a fortnight. It's probably 3 weeks before we got a book ready to go to the street. Is that good enough for Natasha? Thank you.
I think that was great, George. And obviously we'll be, as we've mentioned, the other presenters will be sharing your details as well with the other presenters and the attendees to sort of encourage more conversation. So that's really fantastic. And Barbara says a very big thank you in capital letters. So thanks, George.
Wow, much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll have a little bit of a break, and up next at 11:30, we have a couple of fabulous representatives from Relationships Australia. So looking forward to it. And they'll be up at 11:30. So we will catch you all then.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone had a chance to get themselves some morning tea and get settled in for the afternoon. Saying that, we have a half-hour presentation coming up now, and then we're on lunch again for an hour, so there'll be time to eat again. Anyway, I'm delighted to present next two panelists. I apologise in advance to you both if I mispronounce your surnames, but I'll do my best. We have Russell Chisango and Aggie Radajewski from Relationships Australia. Russell is a community educator, and Aggie is a VCSS counsellor. And I'm assuming Aggie will explain more what VCSS is when she begins. Okay, here they come.
My name is Russell Chisango. Thank you very much, Anthony. We are very excited to be here. I am from Relationships Australia, and I am the GHS community educator. That's my role. And I basically also just work representing our venue in the community. We do have a variety of other programs, one of which is the VCSS, which my colleague Aggie will share a bit about in a few moments. So we are very excited to be here at the Beenleigh District Not-for-Profit Virtual Conference. And I'm going to be talking about problem gambling and families in general. So in this presentation, I'm talking about what is problem gambling, help service, so giving general information and the key points, including the current statistics and identifying how to identify problem gamblers, the underlying factors, triggers and edges, as well as the effects, and how can people respond to these issues. So the Queensland State Government, the GHS or Gambling Help Service Program is a Queensland State government funded program whereby the focus is on prevention and early intervention using a harm minimization framework. And we also, from our venue at Logan Central, do offer free counseling and support service in relation to problem gambling. And also we, as part of the community education aspect, which I do mostly, we do offer free information and support for staff impacted by problem gambling or a patron's problem gambling behavior. So by this, I'm referring to the venues. So where you have the pokies, etc., the industry, the gaming industry in general. And we do have a very collaborative approach with RIQ GHS stakeholders, including community, government, and the gambling industry. So just to give a quick example, we do have an upcoming Gambling Help Service Financial Wellbeing Expo that we, which is a very collaborative initiative where we're working with the Financial Literacy Action Group, which we're a part of, and various other members of that group, and also in principle with the Logan City Council. So we plan to hold that on the 29th to the 31st of October at the Hyperdome. So watch this space for more details. So here, what this is about is basically just giving you an idea of the expenditure in regards to gambling. These details are up to, or as at 31 December 2019. So all forms of gambling are expressed here. So like it says, the following information is a comparison of financial year to date up to the 31st of December 2019. Data for all gambling streams in Queensland. So the first column there, we see we've got different streams of gambling, which is EGMs, electronic gaming machines. So those EGMs in clubs and hotels, EGMs in casinos, casino table games, keno, wagering, lotteries. And so if you go to the second column, you have July 2018 to December 2018. So for comparison purposes, the next column gives us the details for July 2019 to December 2019. So as you can see, for example, I won't do touch on everything. This is just to give you a sense of, what is the spend on gambling, for example. So with EGMs in 2018, for that period, we had almost $1.3 billion spent, and then just over $1.3 billion spent. So an increase of about 3.4% during that period. And then with EGMs in casinos, we had almost 180 million spent. And then there's also an upward trend there of about 6.6% in 2019 during the same period. And then with casino table games, we see that 316 million and a sharp decline of about 40.5% during the same period. And then keno casinos, the numbers are almost the same, just a very difference of about minus 1.6%. And then wagering, about a difference of about minus 1.8%. So it sort of like gives you the numbers if you're not, familiar with the space. So this is what is sort of spent. And so the totals are at the bottom there. During the same period, this is not a full year, this is about a 6-month period review. So you have about $2.2 billion, and in 2019, same period, it's $2.214 billion, which is a minus 1.8% decrease in spend on gambling. That's basically a graphical presentation of what I've just been speaking about. Now, I don't know if I have an opportunity to sort of like just play a little bit of a game with you, Stefanie and Anthony. Maybe you can assist me, but I cannot see the chart. But basically, this is supposed to help us gauge, your perception. So it's a what are the odds game, where we want to have your current perception. I'm going to give you the answers, but what are your chances of winning Powerball Division 1, for example? How does that compare to dating a supermodel and winning major prize in poker machine, winning an Olympic medal in a lifetime? Or what are the chances of marrying a millionaire in a lifetime as well? So this just helps to give, the real facts in terms of the odds when people are playing. A lot of the times people play to chase some wins, etc., which is, some of the reasons why we end up having problem gambling. So this information just helps in raising awareness that the chances are really slim. So as you can see there, winning Powerball Division 1, 1 in 76 million. That's a chance of 1 in 76 million. You are better off chasing a supermodel because that's like 1 in 88,000 chances. it's a little bit better. And then winning a major prize on poker machines, playing maximum lines, that's 1 in 7 million. That's really hard. And then you are better off probably getting ready, getting into shape, and chasing an Olympic medal at the Tokyo Games coming up. And picking trifecta in a 13-horse race, that's 1 in 1,716. What are your chances of marrying a millionaire? 1 in 215. Far much better spending time doing that if you're gonna do it. So I've got a little bit of a quick video. I hope there won't be any tech dramas here. So thinking of winning the lottery, the odds don't look good. So this is a reference material, ABC News, September 18, 2019. So I'll play that for you.
The odds of winning the main prize on Thursday are eye-watering. Basically, 1 in 134,490,400.
Which is 28 factorial times 7 factorial.
Statistician Dr. Nicola Armstrong is used to dealing with big numbers, but even she needs a real-world example. She says, imagine if there were 4 rows of lottery tickets laid out end to end between Perth and Melbourne.
And the chance of you winning the Powerball on Thursday night is the same chance as if you would actually manage to randomly pick the winning lotto ticket from those 4 rows that are laid out on the road.
So how would you like your chances?
Very small.
Even so, there's still plenty willing to try. Newsagents are predicting a rush on tickets, with thousands being sold every minute up to the draw.
It is uncharted territory because we've never had 150 million before, but last financial year we had 2 jackpots over 100 million and our annual sales were increased by about 15%.
No luck this time. But if I had won Division 1, there'd be no bells and whistles from this machine. The staff would take me quietly to an office and tell me privately that I'm a winner. Financial planner David Sharp advises holding on to that privacy if you have a financial windfall and keeping the news to a small circle.
When you do tell people, keep it pretty tight. Money might not change you, but it certainly can change the relationship you have with others.
He also advises taking time with major decisions like quitting a job and avoiding a few of the common mistakes.
One is they go and spend it on extravagant or exorbitant expenses, race cars and boats and the like. And the second is they get involved with investments they don't understand and they can quickly turn millions of dollars into zero.
But given the odds, it's a problem very few are likely to face.
So yeah, I just wanted to give, a real life sort of experience of what are the odds and, as we saw in that clip. So now moving on to, just a quick definition there. Problem gambling is characterized by difficulties in limiting money and or time spent on gambling, which leads to adverse consequences for the gambler, others, or for the community. And I want to give you, these are some of the numbers that we have. So 23,986 Queenslanders experience problem gambling, or that's about 0.51%. 301,000 experience low risk gambling, which is about 6.4%. So they're within the risk group, at risk group. And then you do have 117,000 experiencing moderate risk, which is about 2.59%. And be that as it may, for every 1 person who experiences problem gambling, up to 10 others are impacted. So if we do a simple math, 300 plus 117 plus 23, that comes to close to 500,000, roughly rounded off. So by 10, you can see the numbers there that it increases exponentially in terms of the people that are affected by problem gambling, as well as the concern that is there, which is why we do what we do, like the Gambling Help Service, community education and counseling, is we're trying to help those at risk really not get into the problem gambling zone. In the end, 1 in 5 for family members, friends, employees, or colleagues may be impacted. And this is coming from the Queensland Household Gambling Survey of 2016-2017. And the production, and the Productivity Commission 2010 report. I'm not going to play this video. I want to come to this point where we talk about why do people gamble, for example. Various reasons, ranging from boredom, financial hardship, and some are looking for entertainment, and there's escapism as well. Belief in luck, like I was talking about, chasing wins, etc. Socializing for some, like, you know, people argue, I'm holding a coaster here that you will not be able to see, but you might like what it says. It says there are two ants and they are climbing up a wall. Bet someone turns this coaster over. Bet you are right. So I'll start again. The first ant says, bet someone turns this coaster over. And then the other one says, bet you are right. And the explanation there says that Aussies will bet on anything, even two ants climbing up a wall. Anyone that some of us can get in over our head. So advice is available, it's free and confidential. So that's the sort of thing that which we do to try and also help with the myths and misconceptions that are surrounding gambling. Problem gambling can exist with other types and levels of harm. Problem gamblers exhibit a greater likelihood of engaging in other health compromising behaviors. 30 to 60% substance dependence or abuse, 30 to 70% nicotine dependence, 10 to 40% major depression, and 20 to 60% anxiety disorders. So like we say, beyond community education, RIQ's GHS counseling offers a listening ear, self-reflection, client support, referral pathways to gambling helpline, super important, as well as the gambling help online and related RIQ support services. And these are some of the benefits of counseling, for example, enhancing motivation and increasing self-efficacy, emotional management, assistance with self-exclusion, which is very important. So if somebody finds that they're having, you know, problem gambling issues or there are signs of problem gambling, one of the best ways which are usually taken up is self-exclusion from certain venues or from the gaming area at a casino or at a gaming venue. So yeah, for purpose of time, because I've got my colleague who is also coming in with the presentation, I will stop here. I've come to the end. Are there any questions before I hand over to my colleague? Just really to introduce, it won't be an exhaustive presentation from Aggie, but just for her to be able to introduce what the VCSS is. Thank you very much. Anthony, should I continue?
That's great, Russell. Yeah, we've had no questions come through the Q&A so far. So yeah, if you want Aggie to continue, that'd be good.
So welcome to VCSS, which stands for Victims and Counselling and Support Services. So we are based in Logan Central on Wembley Road. For the district people, you'll be aware, you know, of the shopping centre there, Logan Plaza. We're just in the next lot, next to the Shine Lawyers and formerly Cameron Dick's office. VCSS is a program of supporting victims, as the name suggests. And this covers primary victims, so people who were affected by act of crime, but also their families as a secondary victims or witnesses to a crime. You know, most of us are aware of what counselling is, and it can cover a lot of different emotional and psychological distresses to do with finances, relationships, which is the mind conception about Relationships Australia, that we only deal with relationships, but there is so much more that we cover. So victims counselling and support services is one of extra. So like I mentioned, you know, we're not just relationship counselling service, we also have other services. I'll speak to VCSS, I'm aware of limited time. So yes, the good news about our service is that it's free of charge, because a lot of people struggle, but going to therapy or, you know, to psychologists, paid psychologists can be out of pocket, quite significant expense. So we provide free of charge. We used to be unlimited service, but unfortunately the funding has been limited. So as of now, we can provide 10 sessions with the option for review for another 10, maximum of 20 sessions, which is still relatively good in comparison to other services. Okay, so the number there, the 1300 number, is actually 24 hours a day. It's not counseling line or crisis line, but it is an information service and also booking system. So if you call because you've been referred by police or you found us on the website or someone told you about us, you can call and they will be able to assess whether you are eligible for the service. There is few criteria, or they can link you with another service with Relationships Australia. So one of the major eligibilities to be eligible for victim support service and counselling, you have to be Queensland resident. You have to obviously, unfortunately, join the club of people who are affected by crime. So when we watch the news and we hear the news of something happening and we go, oh my goodness, these poor people, sometimes, you know, we become these poor people, and this is the service that can definitely help. It doesn't have to be so hard. It always helps to have a chat with someone. Not always, we're all different, but from my experience, I had people who were sent by partners or someone, and then they actually did say it is quite helpful. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the therapy and be in it for 20 sessions. Sometimes what it simply means is we're normalizing what is happening. We offer a little bit of psychoeducation, you know, knowledge about how the brain is construed and why you have these responses, normalizing that no, you're not going crazy. You are having normal responses to abnormal situations that should have not happened. So there is the eligibility. Thank you, Russell. Primary victim, as I mentioned before, and it can also be a historical crime. So say if you have experienced some childhood traumas and you've been traveling okay, or you know, you've learned to manage it, but then there is something relatively, you know, small in comparison. Maybe, you know, you've been just verbally abused by someone and that might trigger some past trauma. So sometimes people come to us with something recently happening and they've been referred by police and they come in because they're distressed and the family can see that something is going on. But a lot of times we actually deal with some past traumas, which is also a great opportunity to check in. How am I traveling? What are my coping mechanisms? Have I dealt with the past? And by dealing with the past, I don't mean that we have to always dig in and look in the past, because sometimes some things are better left unearthed because we've managed fine. And obviously we all are different and everybody's individual. So we don't have templates that say with assaults or with robbery or attack or something, we have template and we apply it and we go A plus B and arrive at Z and it's all fixed. I wish I had that, but unfortunately that's not possible because we are all individuals. We all have different experiences and different support networks and different ability to manage things. So it's very much an individual process. So service delivery is via face-to-face, telephone or web-based. In the pandemic, obviously we were only remote. We're coming back now to face-to-face and remote after the latest lockdown cases, but we are pretty much back in full operation. So we can do assistance with the victim impact statements. A lot of people are not aware of it unless they become victims. So you do police report, which is a factual representation of what has happened, what took place, who did what, and at what time and what date. Whereas victim impact statement is the intangible, the unseen acts of the crime. So, you know, that would be the emotional effects, the sometimes physical, you know, when we have been hurt physically and we're not showing it to the whole world, but we suffer for it. There is pain. There will be emotional suffering. There will be some cognitive, you know, possibly stuff happening and wondering forever, why me? So there is a lot of impacts on the victim of crime that unless you've been through it, you wouldn't have any idea. So the victim impact statement helps in the court proceedings when the perpetrator has been charged to help the judge pretty much make the sense of it, how deep the impact was on the victim. And it can also be very healing for the victim themselves to be able to verbalize it. It's usually a written document and signed, and submitted to court, and we can help with that. So the next one, victim advocacy and all that, is also through conferences. So a lot of our clients are actually police referred. So when there is crime and police is called, then they do do the report. They usually leave to the victims our number and send the report to us. And our call center, the 1300 number, will then contact the person and check whether they still are open to receive support, because sometimes people feel like they have enough support and they don't need it. The service is very busy and we go through phases. So through the pandemic, we were extremely busy because it was extra added stress for all families and individuals. So sometimes if you call up, if we contact you, something happened to you, we might be able to see you or provide telephone counseling within a few weeks, but other times it can be up to 2 months even. So it all depends. We are based in Logan, but we also have offices throughout Queensland as well. So usually, you know, if someone prefers face-to-face, it makes sense to book them in the local service. If they only require, you know, web chat or telephone, then they can talk to any counsellor who is first available if there is urgency. So there is a bit of flexibility there. So we can move on, Rasul. So these are just some of the things what victims can experience when something happens. A lot of times it's the shock of unexpected something that happened, because we don't expect things to go wrong, whether it's at home, an invasion, or we are out in the public and we are attacked, or at workplace. We just simply don't expect anything to go wrong. So these are just some of the things. There is so much more, and as I mentioned before, it's very individual. For someone, say they will come because they have experienced a road rage, and you know, for someone it might be, you know, such a life-changing event that they will be immobilized and would have to stop working and really work hard to regain some quality of life. For others, they've been through some other traumas, and that might be relatively small incident that is not requiring counseling. So you see, we're all different. Yeah. So a little bit about trauma, you know, it's such a popular word these days, I believe. But really what it means, it's something that is absolutely out of our norm of coping with it. And then we might go into flight or freeze, as you probably have heard. These are the automatic responses to something shocking and unexpected. And then with single trauma, we might bounce back relatively quickly. So few sessions might help the client to realize, hey, life is full of challenges. This has been one of those challenges, but I am relatively okay and I can normalize it and move through it, face my emotions, deal with it, process it. And again, that looks very differently for different individuals, but then I'm relatively okay and I'm moving on. For others, that one's trauma might bring up other traumas, which is complex trauma, multiple events, multiple heavy losses in life, or maybe events that happened in childhood when we were not fully developed yet and we were not equipped. We didn't have the capacity to deal with it. So everyone is different. Re-traumatization, again, you know, this is not a must, but it might happen. And also for us counselors, we can experience something called vicarious trauma, which is by listening to those stories, quite shocking and quite gruesome sometimes. We do have the abilities, I think, to deal with those things, but it is something that can happen to us as well. So we have to take self-care, and self-care is important to all of us. So here's some symptoms of trauma. Again, not exhausted list of all the things, but these are just the major things. And if you look at sadness, you know, that's part of life, everyday life. We get sad. We see, you know, an animal killed on the road, you know, that will bring great sadness to someone, but to others might be different triggers. So also speaking, I would like to speak to mental health, because a lot of people think mental health is, oh, this is something needs to be really seriously wrong with me, and I might need to have some diagnosis of mental illnesses. it's not that. We all need to tend to our mental health. And mental health is simply noticing when something is off, when something is a little different, when we are not being ourselves, when we are not interacting with others in the same way as used to, or when we not get joy or pleasure from things that normally make us happy. So again, it's just about realizing that we are complex beings and we have emotions and responses, somatic nervous system responses, that they are so much easier to manage and understand when there is someone with us. And another thing I would like to say that before moving on, that not taking away from victims of natural disasters, because the flooding and the bushfires that we've had earlier on this year, they were devastating and life-changing for people, creating massive trauma and losses and leaving great impact for years to come or even generations to come. However, from strictly trauma and counseling perspective, I do notice from my experience that when there is a person behind the crime that hurt us, it makes it so much harder to bounce back from it, because there is clearly an intent of another person to hurt us. And that's what people struggle with. How could that someone think and plan or, you know, act on opportunity to hurt us? So on the flip side of the coin, the same goes for healing. We heal, we can do it alone, but it's a very, very hard way. It's much easier when there is someone present with us. So moving on, what happens when we become victims of crime? We deal with it as we can. Initial shock can last a few weeks, and generally we bounce back, because like everything in our body, we have the ability to heal and bounce back and revive. But a lot of times, particularly if we had other difficult circumstances and events in our lives, the nervous system will be compromised, and then it might take us a little bit longer. So if a person has a simple trauma or simple incident happening, however awful and tragic at the time, when they get the help relatively quick, that can often ensure that yes, there will be post-traumatic stress, but chances are if we capture that, we will not develop post-traumatic stress disorder, because we're dealing with it. We're not adopting more adaptive strategies, or we're not avoiding it, or we're becoming antisocial. All very natural responses when we hurt. So for that reason, I also advocate for at least checking in with counselor and checking, hey, this is what I'm observing. Is this normal? What's going on? And a lot of times, most of the time, it is normal. It's normal response to a normal situation. So we are founded by fundamental principle of justice for victim. So we can Google that, I guess, because I'm acutely aware of the time. But yeah, like most services, we are private and confidential, and we have policies about our delivery. So we usually offer to clients upon first session, the intake session, we offer something we call information welcome pack, which outlines the main policies of confidentiality, client charter, complaints and compliments as well, feedback, any feedback. We also ask that of clients when they exit in the service, so we can ensure continuously improving the quality of our service. Okay, so Rasul, moving on. Yeah, I spoke to that. Not all people will react the same, and there is some references. So I did rush a little bit, but I hope that, you know, for someone who never heard of our service, they got some brief idea that we are available, we're free of charge, and there is some eligibility. But we are there in Logan. I'm open to any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you to both of you. Much appreciated. We haven't had any questions come through yet, but I'll say that I, based in Beenleigh, wasn't aware. I was aware of Relationships Australia, obviously, but I wasn't aware of the services you offer, and was quite impressed and will be referring people at our service when relevant. With regard to Russell's part of the presentation, I particularly liked the comparisons with the odds. That was that was really good. So who would have thought you'd have more chance of marrying a millionaire than winning the top prize at the pokies? But yeah, that really puts it into perspective. And with regards to your presentation, Aggie, I wouldn't have known the first place to refer to a victim of crime to. I probably would have spoken with the police and gone from there and got a referral. But I'm really glad to have that information. So thank you to you both.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say thank you so much for having us. We have enjoyed. I think this is quite an innovative way of engaging, and thank you for making us part of the program.
No, thank you. Much appreciated. And thank you to Aggie.
Come along one day just for pop in for a cuppa, and then we can meet in person and talk some more about the program possibly.
That sounds great. Thank you.
And just in conclusion, we'll definitely keep in touch, you know, from Beenleigh, because we do serve directly the Beenleigh community. So through your BDCDA, we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you to you both. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Russell and Aggie, community educator and VCSS counsellor for Relationships Australia. Okay, now we take a lunch break, and we'll be coming back at 1 p.m. and we'll be hearing from Annalise Hellberg, the manager of Twin Rivers Centre in Eagleby.
All right, welcome back everyone. I hope all your bellies are full after a nice, delicious lunch. It's great to have everyone back and really looking forward to the afternoon ahead. It really has been a fabulous start to day one of the conference. And again, I'd like to acknowledge Chris from the Queensland Families and Communities Association for a great keynote speech, Natasha from Family Drug Support, Katie from Lives Lived Well, George from 4207 Hope, and Russell and Aggie from Relationships Australia for presenting to us this morning. And I think every single one of those presentations really aligned as to why we're all here over these next 2 days, which is essentially around information sharing, getting to know one another, and of course, most importantly, the Beenleigh community. So thank you for your patience and understanding throughout our navigating of online technology. Some of these things you can plan for and others not so much, but we're getting there, and it has been really good hearing from everyone and still being able to see most people and hearing the passion in their voices doing this virtually, which is fabulous. So we've got a great afternoon ahead with some breaks and so forth in between presenters, and we will be finishing up around 4 o'clock this afternoon. But next up, we have Annalise Hellberg, and Annalise is a manager from Twin Rivers Centre. So thank you for joining us, Annalise, and over to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Gee, that's a bad picture of me. But anyway, you're just going to have to trust that I'm a real nice person. All right, Twin Rivers. We are in the centre of Eagleby. Can anybody hear me? Yes, I think it's recording. We are in the centre of Eagleby, and we have been here for more than 25 years. I have been here for about 4 years, and the services that Twin Rivers provide is always responding to the local. Oh, your microphone is very dark. Thank you. I'll turn it down. Is this better? There you go. And they usually respond to the local needs, I guess, or what people come to us about. We also look at the logistics and I suppose, the economic kind of portrait around Eagleby as well. Or there's no, we have no need to become bigger as in let's also put another Twin Rivers, services in other areas. We just want to be here and build out trust. So as such, we have a food outlet that's been here for 20 years. And the food outlet is in particular for people that are doing it tough and that are struggling. And that food outlet started with a esky in the back of a ute. and that is now a large supermarket that sees about 350 people per day. And it's a great service to the community. And we also utilize that to train other people to have a Work for the Door program. And we see a lot of people that being trained and worked there, moving on to careers and great jobs. That brings me to the services that I look into. We have a large Skilling Queenslanders for Work program. We have, we're doing hospitality certificate 2. We have high employment outcomes for that. We also put trainees in our Rivers Cafe and in our food outlet and in our business administration behind the reception area. That works really well for us. We have very good training schedules in place. We also partner with registered training organizations and supervising training organizations. And we feel doing that, we offer a way out of poverty, I guess, or generational welfare dependence. And therefore, it comes with social workers and psychologists to provide a cushioning support. So whatever issues may come up, they can be practical. There could be a housing issue or family issue, or it could be anxiety and depression. We have staff that can deal with that. And it's not foreign for us to get a participant, put her in the car and help them go to court for a court appearance, or help them go to a dentist, for instance, to get the teeth fixed. So we really want to journey with them and work towards a great outcome. We love that, and we see some great outcomes as well, and that really spurs us on to continue. We've also been funded with an emergency relief funding for 5 years, and we love that too. We do it from a case management model, and it's very interesting. Over the COVID period, I continue to provide emergency relief, albeit with some strategies in place. So I put 2 desks together to provide that distance. I did it in the foyer, so people didn't have to touch door handles, and the waiting was outside. It helped that it was from, what was it, from March until May, June, so it wasn't too cold. That worked really well. We also then did meals delivery and medication delivery. We do know that people got extra funding from the government, COVID funding, which is great, because we did see a reduction in people coming to make use of our services. But what we did see as well was that there was a cohort, and especially the elderly, there was a lot of anxiety around the COVID. So we created mental health checks, I guess, and I got a volunteer who was an ex-social worker to come in once a week for a day to ring up people that have been identified as could do with the follow-up chat over the phone, and possibly a meal delivered to their home. We did that for quite some time, actually, and that has now morphed into, you know what, our cafe is open again, do you want to meet with us? So, and it will start on Monday, so if you have any people that want to join, we identified through our programs, and in particular emergency relief, that some people really could do with a community around them, or some friends, you know, they had to just have a chat with, rather than a structured and professional environment, I guess. It is facilitated by a social worker, but we want the group to run, to determine the direction of that support group, and coffee and tea and a biscuit is provided, and for free. So I'm very excited about that, and I call the program I Need a Friend. It's not funded at the moment, but I will certainly try to get some funding for it to expand even more on that. And I'd like to then connect with people, with organizations that deal with mental health issues. So it is a bit of a peer-to-peer support, and we will see where that takes us, I guess, which is really great. We also do the Certificate 2 in Hospitality is a 12-week course with students, and the meals they learn how to prepare, we have a commercial kitchen, and the meals they prepare are going to our local homeless organizations, and they are very much helped, because like Nightlight and the Second Bite, they really do a great job on very, very little money. So it's a case of students learning how to cook. They're all labeled and prepared according to the health guidelines. And it's also very, very satisfactory for our participants that they get to give back to the community that way. So indirectly, they're involved with helping the people that are doing it tough and are homeless. And the meals are actually very nice. And to recoup some of the funding that's needed to buy the ingredients, we sell some of it in our food outlet for very low cost. And that money then comes back, and so we can maintain the program. But it started funded by as a Dignity First funding, which I loved from the Department of Housing. But when that funding stopped, we really kept on going, and we just scraped it all together. And the more people came on board, or more organizations asked, hey, you guys are doing it, like the Eagle Bee Learning Center, they came on board as well. It says we do have students that are doing it tough and may not have a meal. So it is expanding, and I just say yes, and I just do it. This is great. So we love doing that. And to be honest, we also recruit staff as we are growing from, of course, the trainees and participants and volunteers that come to our service and help. And it's fantastic because they're already very passionate about it. We know they have a heart for community. And then as we employ them, we also then train them. And they really have a career then. And, you know, if the time comes that they have to leave because of maybe not enough funding, they then can keep on going, and we set them up to really to succeed, which we really love, and that's really our reward. So it is not uncommon, and I'm sure that's for you guys as well, that you have people coming after a few years to remember me, and this is my life now, and we celebrate their wins together, and that is really so rewarding to do. We also have mainly music that is for mothers or carers, I suppose, and children. It's a program that encourages interaction and doing games and music together with the children, and that's I really like that because it's nice for mothers to get together and have a chat, but it's very useful for mothers also to learn to enjoy their children and to learn how to play with them, and that really increases attachments and what have you. So we have that as well once a week. That is a volunteer program, but it's run by a retired teacher. So I think that's all about it. If you let me talk, I just keep on going. I love what I'm doing, and I'm always open for new partnership, for new programs, for needs, and let's get together and talk about it. So yeah, let me know, and what you want to do, what you want to partner with, and thank you for your time. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Annalise. And just to confirm your opening sentence at the start, you look beautiful on camera, and we can certainly tell you're a nice person, and the passion in your voice and your face is just incredible. We can absolutely tell you love what you do, and the work that you guys are doing there is absolutely incredible. I think all of us here know that, you know, several of the things that help to reduce risks in people's lives and to make sure they feel safe is connection and opportunities. And I think the great work that you guys are doing in terms of providing education opportunities like certificates and employment opportunities, upskilling people so that they can succeed in life is so important. And it's really good that you guys received that emergency relief funding so you could do that, you know, sort of tailored work within those months of COVID. So thanks, Annalise. I'll just see if we have any questions. Oh, we've had Ree from the audience saying, thanks for your service and positive mindset, Annalise.
Oh, thanks.
And as Anthony and I have mentioned throughout the conference today, the contact details for all the presenters will be circulated to the other presenters and attendees. So no doubt you will be contacted, Annalise, for conversations and, you know, potential collaboration.
Wonderful, fantastic, thank you.
Thanks, Annalise. Excellent. So our next presenter is at 1:30 p.m, which is in about 15 minutes. And that will be Wendy Revell, who is a community worker at Caxton Legal Centre. So we will see you all back here at 1:30.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, we're quickly moving through the afternoon. It's in my opinion, it's been a fantastic day so far. We've had some great panelists join us, share some great information. I myself, for my own organisation, have even gotten a few great contacts, so that's great. I'll be reaching out to them in the near future, and hopefully you'll be taking a lot away from this as well. Now, next up, we have Wendy from Caxton Legal Centre. Wendy is a community worker with Caxton. She's at our centre, Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre. She's just before the pandemic, she was coming in each week and speaking with people, providing them with assistance, advice, referrals, that sort of thing. So we look forward to seeing Wendy back again at the centre when things improve a bit restrictions wise. But for now, here she is to tell you about what the great work that Caxton Legal Centre do. Thanks, Wendy.
Great, thanks very much for that introduction, Anthony. Yeah, so as Anthony said, I'm Wendy Revell and I work at Caxton Legal. I work in the Elder Abuse Unit. I'm with the Seniors Financial Protection Service, as it says there. I'd like to begin actually by acknowledging the Indigenous people of the traditional custodians of the land which I'm currently on, which is the Jagera and Turrbal people. So this is just a quick outline of the service. It's quite a short presentation to try and cover everything, so I'm sorry if it's a bit jam-packed. So just to begin, Caxton's an independent, not-for-profit organisation providing free legal advice, information, social work services and referrals. So we're Queensland's oldest community legal centre. We rely on the assistance of over 200 volunteer lawyers. There's a myriad of services available through Caxton. And if you browse the website, there's numerous options for information. There's also a copy of the Queensland Law Handbook website where you can search for information in an easy to understand language. And you can see on the slide that it's down the bottom where it says online legal information. So that's quite useful. Other information is available by clicking these three bars up the top where it says menu. And once you click that, you get this view now, which is the this aqua colour. So up here it says, how can we help? And if you click on that, you get this drop-down list here. So in this drop-down list is my service, which is the financial protection service here. And in there, you will see everything that I'm telling you now. So although it might be a bit jam-packed at this minute, you can go back and look at anything there, and the fact sheets are there for you to print out and give to anybody that you work with or for your own benefit, your benefit and your family's benefit. So just to speak specifically about the financial protection service, so the population of older persons in Queensland is growing, and as it says here, by 2020, Queenslanders aged over 60 and above are expected to represent, so this year, about a quarter of the population. And these people are living longer. So not only are there more of them, they're living longer. So as you can see, the numbers there of what we're expecting. So the Queensland government was concerned about this, and they were worried about the elder abuse that they were seeing. The service I represent is embedded into the Seniors Legal and Support Service. So this information about how many of us are going to be aged in the population, plus this government inquiry into the adequacy of financial protection for Queensland seniors, led to the initiation of the service I'm in. So the government wishes to raise the level of resilience in the future aged population. It's a statewide population. It's a statewide service for the population of Queensland. So they're wanting to raise resilience in people who are already in the aged area or who are moving toward that. So that's 40 years and above, which can sound young when you're thinking of older people, but that's the age they're thinking of. So they want us all to get ready, be prepared. So they've introduced me to have a chat with people about how to do that. So resilience means knowing how to cope in spite of setbacks, barriers, or limited resources. So there will be limited resources, and we will need to make sure that we're on top of all that, and there currently are. The way that the service works is by focusing on these particular areas: accommodation, money planning, retirement planning in terms of finances and accommodation, and loans, guarantees, what to do about that, wills and future planning documents. So that's the areas that we're looking at. What I'm actually going to talk through mainly is a list of referral options, and as I say, this list is available on the website. I can also send through I have made an A4 copy so that it's easier to understand. So My Aged Care is the entry point for all aged care services in Queensland, and it's really good to go hard and go early. Basically register fairly quickly, because it's quite difficult once you're in a situation, either yourself or your loved ones, your older relatives perhaps, trying to get them into care or get them home services or to get anything happening. My Aged Care is the portal for all that. So that's the first place to go to. National Aged Care Advocacy Line can be helpful, and the financial literacy services. So there is a free financial literacy service if you're a National Seniors member. With this program that I do, I can offer free 1-year membership to the National Seniors, and then that will give you free membership to the financial counsellor. So you can ring up that person and ask about, your mortgage and your outgoings and your superannuation, and how to get prepared. Also, there is the financial information service with what we know as Centrelink, Department of Human Services. And it's important to get them involved as well, because your income impacts what you pay when you move into aged care services or try and get home help assistance. There's also our own services. So we have a Queensland Retirement Village and Parks Advice Service, or CurvePass. As I've said many times, I think it's like all the acronyms of all the letters left once you've done well in Scrabble. CurvePass. So they can actually assist you to navigate your way through if you get into trouble in retirement village or manufactured home park living. Those two things are different, retirement villages and manufactured home parks. So it's just important to know that manufactured home parks are what we would have called probably a caravan park. But these days that's not so. They don't, that they look very different. I have got a few slides later to show you that, what they might look like now. So again, accommodation planning, here's some other services, to have a look at. My Aged Care will conduct an ACAT. So the ACAT assessment is the first assessment that will happen before somebody goes into retirement living, or before the government gives money to assist somebody. They will assess what sort of assistance they need. And again, it's really good to get this happening early, because people are waiting a long time, and unfortunately sometimes they're, they pass away before their package comes through. So there's also the Council of the Ageing, there's National Seniors Ageing and Remaining at Home. So there's all sorts of options. ASIC Money Smart, this is a great website, ASIC Money Smart. It gives lots of calculators and ways to figure out, what your income and likely outcome of that would be for you. So there's also ACCC, the Home Care, Know Your Consumer Rights. So to know what you're expecting to get for what you're paying. And the Human Rights Commission, which is very important. At the moment, a lot of elder abuse is related to the Human Rights Commission. We're doing a lot of work trying to do better in that area. So here's just some little pictures that I've taken from the CurvePass site. So if you're thinking of retirement living options, we've got places that are all, look look the same, and they may be independent living, you just don't know. So the reason I'm showing this slide is to just show that you can't always tell by the advertising of the people who are selling these services what they actually are. So this one in the middle is probably a manufactured home park home, meaning that it is transportable. So they do need to legally be transportable. But this home here on the right, which looks like it's on a concrete slab, may also be manufactured home park. Legally, it falls into this category. That's why I call it a manufactured home park, because legally that's the legal body that would cover it. But it may look like this. Now, this may structurally be portable, but it would cost you more than it's worth to actually to move it. So these are things to have a think about. And if you are looking at putting your relatives, moving your relatives into these places, you know, you're looking for independent lifestyle, but the retirement villages have age restrictions. Manufactured home parks don't. So, you know, you could have somebody with a great interest in motorcycles and tattoos, which is fine, move in next to you and have parties and so forth. You know, there are regulations, but there's things to be considered. So in retirement villages, you know, you pay quite a high ingoing contribution, you pay ongoing fees, and then there's the cost of sale and reinstatement as you leave, and exit fees, which are approximately 25 to 40% of ingoing contribution. So it can be quite expensive. And there may be no co-located hire facilities to go to in that complex. Sometimes they say there is, but there's no guarantee of you going in there if there's no room. So these are things just to be wary of when you're thinking about this. There are retirement rental villages as well, and then there's the manufactured home parks or over 50s villages or lifestyle resorts. These are the names that are used. These are the ones that have to be mobile. So no costs and ongoing rent, no enforceable age restrictions, no regulations about buying. So these are just things to think about. There's also the granny flat option. It's very important when thinking about the granny flat option to have some legal documentation about the payment if you pay your children. Unfortunately, we find the highest incidence of elder abuse happens by firstly male children and then female children followed very quickly after that. So it's very important to get documentation if you're thinking of going into this sort of environment. It can all sound very lovely at the beginning, but unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't stay like that. So just to have a think about that. So your co-living and family agreements. So there are documents that you can have a look at to guide you in terms of how to go forward. Also with granny flat living, there is a change in your income with Centrelink, which is really worth noting because that's sometimes not outlined and it can be quite challenging. There is also an 18-month wait period for the retirement village. They can keep your home without selling it for that long. So you've got to pay to go into higher care, plus you've got to, all your equity is kept in the retirement village. So in the retirement home, so you can be in trouble there. So here's another little list of, I won't just read them out because you can read them for yourself. And as I say, I can send them or I can send a copy of the PowerPoint. With money planning, here's another range of referral options for you. Again, we see the financial information from Centrelink or DHS. The literacy service, again, is good. National Seniors have a career planning section on their website. Your own accountant is always good. And Caxton Legal Centre has fact sheets talking about financial matters, fact sheets. So there's lots of advice there. And just moving on, it is good to find out what your Centrelink and superannuation income will be and learn about your taxation obligations. So to do some research prior to your retirement looming, people kind of often say, look, I'm just going to stay in my own home and they'll have to carry me out of here in a box. And unfortunately, that often does not happen. So it's really good having a think about how to go forward. So the National Debt Hotline, although it says debt hotline, they're a really useful service. You don't have to have trouble or be in debt or be in danger of losing income or anything like that. You can just give them a ring and they can guide you and help you. So they're very good. Superannuation, to get clear about how much superannuation you need and where that superannuation is at the moment. I just think with the current climate, it's important just to note that taking money out of your superannuation does really impact your long-term outcomes, and it's really important to notice that. We have found research at the moment that a high proportion of the males who are taking their retirement superannuation out are spending it on gambling, unfortunately, at the moment. So it's just important to have a think about really, really clearly about what's going on. Then the women are taking their superannuation out and using it for the families and so forth to live on. So there's a bit of a concern around that. Your equity release, which is when you take money out of your mortgage, if you have a mortgage, again, important to have a think about long term, and here's some options for you, to places to go to have a think about that, to get some more information. So as I say, I'm a referral point. I don't have a financial counsellor training, but I do have counselling training, and my details will be provided at the end. I'm very happy to talk to anybody about their planning and to lead you in the direction, or we can figure out together the direction to go into, or if you have elderly family that you are concerned about, very happy to talk. So part of my role is case management, so information and referral, which is why I have sat in the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre. They very kindly let me be in there and talk to people coming in and out, because it's amazing how much people don't think about this. So again, credit and loans. If you have any loans going into your retirement, it's really important to have a think about that. And if you're thinking you're going to get a loan after you're retired, then you need to have a look at a few websites and have a talk with a few people about that, because that may not be possible. As I say, the ASIC Money Smart website is really, really good. And as it says, if in difficulty, tell your bank or credit providers straight away. It's really important to get help really quickly, because people will assist, and the banks are getting much more on board with this. So it's good to know that they are helping. They're certainly looking now at elder abuse and noticing any unusual transactions. So that's been very helpful. So yes, loans, guarantees and other agreements. Again, this is a lot of information. I do apologise, but I've just provided referral points and, points for discussion and for thinking about. It's really important to get legal advice when you are thinking about loans. We do see elderly people who continually loan money to family members or children. Another thing we do see is at this generation is women who've left all the thinking about money to the male in the family, to the husband generally. I have spoken to a woman who had to borrow money to pay for the funeral of her husband because she didn't know how to access the internet collection of information about her financial well-being, her way to get to her money. So these are all things that are worth having a think about. And with family, it's really important. Unfortunately, we do see difficulty, within families. So there's a whole raft of information there. To be very careful not to go guarantor for people unless you're very sure of what you're doing, all that sort of thing. So with wills, so it's important to have a will. It makes it difficult for the people left if you die intestate. With the privacy laws, it's very difficult for people to do anything. I will talk about enduring power of attorneys just on the last slide, but in terms of wills, that's after you've died, and you may have an enduring power of attorney of somebody you've given. For example, I might be working with a woman who's given her husband enduring power of attorney, and then she passes away, that enduring power of attorney is no longer viable. It doesn't work anymore. So it only works when the person's alive. And then once they die, her husband would probably have some ability to access her information because he's a next of kin. But if that enduring power of attorney was with a friend or somebody a little more removed, they would have no access to anything. They couldn't help at all, and they couldn't, tell anybody what this person wanted to have happen. So it is important to have a will. You can get a free will done with the public trustee if you have your own executor. You can just go and use the public trustee to get your will done. Actually, you can get that done at the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre. Well, you used to be able to. I'm not sure. You'd have to check with them. Also, the Queensland Law Society, you can find a private solicitor through them. So it is important to do that. The last slide here, well, there are a couple of other quick slides at the end, but the last one is about Advanced Healthcare Directive, Statement of Wishes and Enduring Power of Attorney documents. So it's very important to have these documents as you age. An Advanced Health Directive tells the medical professionals what you want to have happen to your body. A lot of people have in there that they don't want to be resuscitated. It's a quite lengthy document. You make a long appointment with your GP, you go in and you fill it out. So you can say exactly what you want. If you have an enduring power of attorney and you are no longer have capacity, so you can't say what you want to have happen for yourself, they can be guided by this document. So they don't have to guess. They can say, this is what the person said, this is what they want to have happen. So the enduring power of attorney is a document that comes into action when the person who it is about loses capacity. So you can have it written up, signed and ready to go. And then when if the person loses capacity, even if we were to become unwell or if you're overseas and had an accident, your family might like to have one of these to be able to manage your matters, your financial and care matters. So there is a list of options there. The enduring power of attorney can be done with the public trustee. There is a cost to that. You can do it yourself, although all legal people will tell you that's inadvisable. You can do it yourself and then contact the advanced care service, and that's in a previous slide, and they will check it for you. And they will. So there it is, Office of Advanced Care Planning. They will check that for you if you send it to them. They'll also check the Advanced Care Health Directive, and they will lodge it with the likely hospital that you'll go to. It needs to be lodged where you're expecting to be treated, because the professionals need to have access to both those documents. There is an option. We are looking at options to have that electronically stored, but at the moment you have to have it hard copy. So just to finish up, that's my little end point. I can offer, as I say, free membership with National Seniors, and then you can use their financial literacy service, which is outlined there. I am available to talk to people one-to-one, to talk to groups, and I have lots of information and hard copy data that you're welcome to. I can post it out to you, or you can get it electronically. So you're welcome to speak to me about that. So thanks very much for your time. I will just leave some time if there's any questions. And thanks very much for listening. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Wendy. We really appreciate what you've said today. Very impressive that you managed to condense so much information into about a 20-minute presentation. I know you have...
Sorry.
Sorry?
I say perhaps too much. I'm sorry if that's the case.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. The more, the better. But people can definitely get in touch with you. You did mention the public trustee coming to Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre.
Yes.
Because of COVID, that's actually been put on hold for a while. The public trustee made that decision. So if anyone's interested in getting a free will done by the public trustee, or paying for the power of attorney and enduring power of attorney service, they can, they're still doing phone appointments. So you can visit pt.qld.gov.au, or you can call them on 1300 360 044, or just Google public trustee. So they are still doing it. They're just not doing it in person at the moment, which is understandable.
Absolutely, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Anthony. Sure.
Okay, Wendy, we haven't had any questions come through, but maybe some of the attendees will contact you afterwards.
Good. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Wendy. Up next, we have Ree from Multicultural Communities Council Gold Coast. Stefanie will be introducing Ree, so we're just going to pause for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back with you very shortly. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. And just before we move on to the next presenter, just a comment towards Wendy, who was our last presenter, that people must be so relieved to meet you, Wendy, when navigating legal matters and aged care system. And absolutely spot on. We need more Wendys of the world. It is a complex system to navigate, and there was some really great information you shared, Wendy, so thank you. So our next presenter is Ree Duthie, and she's a Multicultural Community Development Officer for the Multicultural Communities Council Gold Coast. So welcome, Ree.
Well, kia ora everyone, my name's Ree and I'm based on the Gold Coast working for Multicultural Community Council in the Gold Coast. And I'd firstly like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on where we are all meeting. And acknowledge any sorry business that may be occurring, and acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging. Also, I'd love to acknowledge the organisers for these 2 days, and also those who have already spoken and those yet to speak to us. I'm really looking forward to hearing all this great information. Now, you'll notice I've got these snazzy headphones on. I promise I will not break into Janet Jackson sound. Is that a bit better? And dance, although, you know, exercise is good for us at this time. I'm working at the Multicultural Community Council, and they are involved with lots of different work. We have a community development team. We do social support, education and training for Cert 3 in aged care and individual support. And we've been managing to place people, even through COVID, into the placement so they complete their work and go on to support the others that are working on the front line at the moment. Lots of work with youth and refugees and migrants. Some aged care work, advocacy and events. At the moment, some of our events haven't been able to progress with the different restrictions, but we've found ways around it, as I'm sure many of you have. So today I'd like to tell you a little bit about a program that I'm looking after. It's called I Speak Your Language, and it's a volunteer-based program. It's statewide and it's a free service where we match trained volunteers to participants. They can be your neighbour, your family member. It could be someone who's newly arrived into Queensland or even from other countries and have been here a while. And it's all done once a week in their own language. So it's been funded for the next year, or basically from about May, because of COVID, as an initiative to help people keep socially connected. It's actually been running since 2017 in a very small unfunded way in a partnership with Australian Red Cross. So Australian Red Cross manage a program called Telecross and Telechat, and those are 365-day-a-year calls as well as weekly calls for social connection. So it seemed great that we could partner together and we would support their program, but add some volunteers who could speak a number of languages. And that's been a really lovely partnership. And I think during these times, especially, we need to find ways to work together and collaborate so that people get the information that they need and that they feel less isolated and less fearful about our situation at the moment. So one of the cool things about the program is it has a 1-800 number. 1-800 95 40 40. I've got that down pat now. It means that people can ring this number at no cost. And why we have this number is for people to be able to ring and say they'd like a call to find out more information about the program, or for referrers or family members or community members or workers in other sectors in the humanities or community services to refer someone. So I hold the phone initially. If I'm busy on another call, my colleague Jenny will answer. And if Jenny and I are both busy, we have our manager who takes the third call. So there should be easily able to speak to someone, whoever rings that number. It's online from 8:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday, and then it's turned off over the weekends. It's definitely not a crisis service. It's more a social connectedness and support service. And we're finding that the 1-800 number is working particularly well. So what's this all about? So the program, as I mentioned, has been running from 2017 to now. The All Hands is basically, since 2017, it started with about 10 to 13 volunteers. And since May, I'd say May, very early June, we've now grown that number to 127 volunteers with a range of languages. And the majority of those volunteers are fully trained, police checked, and supplied photos and information, and we've undertaken good training, as I mentioned before. The others within that number are those that are just waiting for their police checks to come back. We also reimburse the police check fee. It's something that we feel we can do to help people be part of something bigger than us and bigger than themselves. And it's just a small thing that we can do. The program used to call about 25 people a week, and we've grown that since June to 70 people at the moment. And some of those people are actually receiving 2 calls a week, depending on their circumstances and the volunteer's ability. Also, the telephone indicates initially we were ringing between 400 and 600 minutes a week. But with all these volunteers and all these languages, we're really doing about 2,500 minutes every week, which seems a bit insane. Average call is probably between 30 minutes and 1 hour, but we've had reports of much, much longer than that and also shorter. The volunteer makes an introductory call, and often that will tell you how it's going to progress. And we've had reporting back from volunteers where they've rung and met the person, and before they knew it, it was actually they'd been on the phone for 40 minutes for a call they thought would only take 5 or 10 minutes to introduce themselves and set up a suitable time to call. So here are the volunteers and all of their languages. So I'm not sure who is out there watching or who will be watching in the future. But this is, as of yesterday, we've got 43 languages. And there's quite a mix there. And you'll notice that we've got English in there. And yet I've just told you that that this is to be calls in language. The reason we've kept that is because sometimes the people who want to talk to someone would also like to perhaps practice a little bit of English, or get some get to understand what they're saying and understand how they could say it better in English. So conversational English, and also understanding what different words mean, or the idioms perhaps, or the local colloquialised, you know, terms that we use even here in Queensland as opposed to other states. So yeah, we get excited also when we get a new language. And some of the languages that we seek in our volunteers are actually dictated by the people that are coming on board. So for example, oh, I'm just going to jump ahead and then I'll go back. When people call us and say, you know, we'd like to have a call in Serbian, if we don't have a volunteer that currently speaks that language, we will go out and seek that person, and we try and get that organised and them trained within a week or 2 weeks at the most. Some of the more difficult languages have taken, so I guess, longer time, but when we do get that match, it's absolute magic, and people then feed back to us that it was worth waiting. Just going to jump back. We use social media a lot for this program, and we've got the support of Multicultural Affairs Queensland, obviously, as the funder, but we're also working very closely with Australian Red Cross, the Seniors Inquiry Line, and also Queensland Volunteering. Initially, we thought we were going to have to go to Queensland Volunteering and the Care Army and ask them if they had people with languages. But I'd sort of only just set that up to occur when the expressions of interest started rolling in the doors. And before we knew it, we actually didn't need any extra volunteering promotion. But we do keep informing people of the languages that we do have, and also the languages that we're looking for. And of course, we always try and, I guess, in our messaging, show faces of diversity to make people feel comfortable that whoever we would get to talk to them will understand not only their language, but perhaps some of their cultural practices and cultural well-being. So the calls themselves are once a week, and they're only a social chat. They're definitely not counselling or case management or advice or legal advice. We'd probably refer them to Wendy or people just like Wendy and Annalise. And we don't visit in the home. There are other programs, despite COVID, that are about visits to the home or to the aged care facility, but this is telephone calls only. We have been exploring video on phones, so we're just exploring how that will work, and we're wanting to make sure that it's going to be secure and confidential, and keep the boundaries in place, I guess, for the volunteer and the person that they're calling. You'll see there I mentioned about the police check. We are currently doing our training online. We would have preferred to do that in person, but also because we're statewide, we have callers from who are volunteers who are in Mount Isa, or they might be in Rockhampton or Cairns and or Roma, for example. And so this way online we can get everybody together, and they also get to meet other volunteers, and we go through everything we need to talk about. If you choose to refer, we have a referral form, which I'll provide Anthony and Stefanie so that you can have access to it, but it's also on our website, and we keep them informed. If the volunteer raises any issues that they hear from the person they're calling and they know that they can't do anything about it, they will refer it to the program team, and we will work with the referrers to find a solution or pass that information to them so that they can do what they need to do, because they'll be fully informed about the person. It might even be a family member. Aged care facilities use this a lot, the service. As mentioned, these are the current, what our people that we call the languages we've got. And you'll see we've highlighted Greek, Polish and Thai. These are the 3 languages that we're currently seeking at the moment for volunteers. So if you know anyone or you speak any of those languages and want to join our team to help people keep connected, we'd love to hear from you. Just call us on the 1-800 number. The referral process is really easy. It's a 1-page document with minimum information, but we can also do it on the phone. So if you want to ring that 1-800 number, I can actually take the details on the phone. We then look to match the volunteer with our team, and then we write a small profile with basic information that we give to the volunteer about the person they're going to call. And that's about us making sure that even their introductory call is friendly, and if they're to make them aware of anything that they need to be aware of. We have a number of clients or participants that we call who, for example, are experiencing and living with dementia, and we have special volunteers who have had extra training, who know how to take those calls and be patient and understand what might be happening for that person. Then also we have reporting, so the volunteers give us information back, and we've just had some magic stories. I want to just quickly tell you about one of our volunteers we matched in Croatian. They were from Croatia, and it became obvious that the volunteer and the person they were going to call actually came from a similar part of Croatia. And in fact, the older person who was being called had the same surname as the volunteer, or maiden name as the volunteer. And as it turns out, we haven't gone too far down that line, but it appears they may well be related. And so they have become firm friends. There might be a time when it gets to the volunteer not being a volunteer anymore and actually becoming a friend with that person for the rest of their relationship. And that's pretty special. We've also had people ring us and say, thank you so much, you've just made my mother's day. She lives out on a farm in regional Queensland, and she looks forward to these calls. She migrated many years ago, but to hear that language spoken and be understood has just been priceless for her well-being, as she finds that her health is, I guess, changing for her as an older person. So you can go onto our website, and there are lots of videos there in language. We have lots of flyers in language as well, and there are some YouTubes about the program when it was running at Red Cross a year or so ago. You can download the referral form, or you can do an expression of interest to become a volunteer. So I really wanted to share this with you, because while we're based on the Gold Coast, this is a statewide program, and we do know that multicultural people are living in pockets across Queensland, and that includes Beenleigh and the surrounding areas. And if this is something that might benefit someone that you know, we'd love to be able to connect with you and offer this. So that concludes my chat with you, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope this is of benefit to you and your communities.
Thank you so much, Ree. And can I just say that Janet Jackson looks fabulous on you, and I think Anthony and I could agree that you're welcome to do performances in between presentations if you so wish.
I didn't get that memo. I'll have to consider that. You speak to my agent.
We'll note it down for next time. So,
I do find the quality is better with the headphones.
No, it's very clear. No, that was fantastic. We've got a few comments, Ree. So from Wendy, great presentation. And Wendy forgot to mention that they have translated fact sheets through their legal centre.
Wonderful.
And Cheryl, comment, great information. And I couldn't agree more. I actually couldn't stop smiling through your presentation. It's just a wonderful service. And we know the importance right now of
critical
connection. And also there's a lot of people, particularly in sort of that aging population, who are not so confident in the digital space. So being able to just pick up the phone and have social, lovely, warm chat with someone is really amazing. And hats off to you guys. And on a personal level, my background's Lithuanian, so I was stoked to see that Lithuanian was on there as well.
That's one. We only just got that volunteer, so we're super excited.
No, but 43 languages, 2,500 minutes each week. That is phenomenal. And it sounds like it would be something beneficial in the long term post-COVID.
Yeah, we're hoping so too.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Thanks everyone.
Appreciate it. Excellent. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back at 3 o'clock for Alison Smith, who is a senior coordinator for Centre Care. So we will be back at 3 o'clock. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back for the final two presentations of day one of the Beenleigh District not-for-profit virtual conference. I almost forgot the name of the event. How's that? Thanks for sticking with us. I see we've got many attendees who have stuck with us throughout the day, which is absolutely fantastic. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Alison Smith. Alison is from Centre Care and she's the Gold Coast Senior Coordinator.
Hi everyone, how are you going? I'd just like to welcome you all today to my presentation, just to be talking about the services that Centre Care Family and Relationship Service is able to provide. I'd like to first do an acknowledgement of country. So although we are meeting virtually, we continue to acknowledge the traditional custodians that have for thousands of years walked upon and cared for the lands upon which we are all individually located. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the Yugambeh and Kumberri peoples across the Gold Coast and acknowledge each of these nations and the continued deep spiritual attachment and relationship of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to this country, and commit ourselves to the ongoing journey of reconciliation. So I thought a good place to start is to just talk about the Centre Care footprint. So Centre Care Family and Relationship Services is actually a part of the Archdiocese of Brisbane. So we are the social services arm of the Catholic Church. And the footprint is actually 77,000 square kilometres across the southeast corner of Queensland. So you can see on this map that we go all the way up to Hervey Bay, out to Kingaroy. Then we go all the way down the coast and we have offices located on the Sunshine Coast, across Brisbane, and then we go right to the border here as a part of our Gold Coast region. So it's a really large footprint. You may have heard of Centre Care for some of our other services that we provide in childcare and also in aged care. But today I'm going to be talking about our work that we do as part of the Family and Relationship Service. And that's where all of the programs that I'm talking about today are across the Gold Coast region. So Centre Care Family and Relationship Services has programs that are funded by the state and federal government. And, you know, there's different programs available in different regions of this map that I can speak to. But today we're mainly focusing on Gold Coast, and that would be around the Beenleigh area as well. And then also some of the programs I'll speak to being available in Brisbane, just in case that's of interest to you as well. So the first program I wanted to talk about is the Parenting Orders program. So this is funded by the Attorney General's Department as part of the post-separation funding that's available. So what we provide is the Keeping Kids in Mind program, which is a 5-session parenting program. This is done, normally we do it in a face-to-face group, and that, you know, goes really, really well. So we don't have co-parents together in the group. We actually always make sure that the parents attend different groups. And we are just about to start our first online groups as well, just due to COVID. So you'll read some of the aims there to minimise the impact of ongoing conflict with children, promote co-parenting, provide insights, skills, strategies, and it's all about being child-focused. So they'll also do a bit of grief and loss work, learn about children's developmental needs, strengthen their attachments, promote resilience, communication, conflict resolution, and how to emotionally support children moving forward. So we also do some emotion coaching work with parents. So the cost of this is quite minimal. It's only $10 for the workbook. And what's also available to parents is a free up to 6 sessions of brief intervention counselling after that group individually. And they'll then to try and consolidate their own learnings in terms of what is this, how can they apply that to their own specific relationship or family. We can also provide counselling services. So that is brief solution focused around emotional support, anything to do with family and relationship issues. That's available to individuals, couples, children over 5 years of age, adolescents, and we can also do family counselling. So the fees for that is done on a fee schedule. So it's income based, and if we do have the ability for people to apply for a fee exemption, or some reduced fees if they're having some financial hardship. We have free counselling available for carers, and that's anybody who is caring for a family member with a disability of some kind. There's not any need for them to provide any evidence of that disability. We just, at intake would just determine what type of a carer that they are. And it's just there to provide emotional support and develop coping strategies and skills. So that again is the 6 sessions. Supporting children after separation. This is a program also funded by the Attorney General's Department for individual counselling for children. So anyone from, I think the funding is from 0 to 18, but their children would need to be around after 5 years of age. And it's brief intervention counselling to provide emotional support to children or young people who are experiencing family separation or divorce. So that can be that their parents are considering separation. It could be that they're going through it, or it could be that it's something that's happened in the past for them and that's something that has been identified that they could benefit from some intervention or support. It's an opportunity for the children or the young people to express thoughts and feelings and just develop positive coping strategies to adjust to the family changes and the grief and loss that they might be experiencing. We also do an extension of that program in a group. So it's when the children or young people can come together, and it actually really helps to normalise their experience, that they're not the only ones that are facing the situation that they might be going through. So we usually run this as a tool. We would be running it over 6 sessions weekly, so we're able to do that. So that is a really good option as well. We run a number of parenting programs. 1, 2, 3 Magic and emotion coaching is 3 sessions. We run them face-to-face at schools, in our own office, and online groups as well. And we can also run individual sessions with parents who may not be group ready. And 1, 2, 3 Magic is a brief parenting program, quite well known to help respond and manage children's emotions and behaviours. So we also do Engaging Adolescents, which is 3 sessions of parenting for young people over 10 years of age. Same kind of format for those groups, and it's more for helping parents who have older children have appropriate strategies and ways to engage and support young people. At Ashmore, we actually have the Family Relationship Centre. So FRCs are Attorney General funded to provide family dispute resolution for families who are separated and trying to talk about parenting matters. So as you can read there, there's some details about what the aims of that are to solve family dispute. We can talk to or conduct property mediation as well. That's something that started, I think, mid last year, and that's available at Ashmore FIC as well. And some of the costs are there. Oop, I've just gone backwards, sorry. I also wanted to talk a little bit about our domestic violence assistance program, which is located in the Beenleigh Court. And that program supports women seeking court support for protection orders or urgent assistance for private applications for protection orders. It's important to note that any clients that need any crisis support are best directed to the Specialist Domestic Violence Support Service or to the police, because this is a specialist service that works within the court for that need. We also have the Men's Behaviour Change Program as a part of our Gold Coast support services, and that program aims to assist men to stop engaging in abuse and violence and to develop and maintain non-violent and respectful relationships. Referrals to that program are through the court, or men can self-refer as well. And there is a pretty extensive current waiting list. This is a 16-week program and they're closed groups. So we run, I believe we're running 3 groups at the moment. So when they fill up, you know, we move to a waiting list. So sometimes the waiting list can be quite lengthy. So in terms of these programs, we have offices at Clear Island Waters, at Ashmore and at Southport. And we outreach to Upper Coomera Community Centre, Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre, and we can also go to schools around that region. We also have a Brisbane office in the Fortitude Valley that you might be aware of, and that office also, you know, that region also does outreach around multiple areas in Brisbane. How to refer. So the best way to refer is to contact either our Clear Island Waters office on that number or that email address that's listed there, or the Ashmore Family Relationship Centre for any of the FRC type programs. And what the process is that for most of our programs, there would be an intake that the client would register with our administration, and they would book an intake appointment where we do about 45-minute phone call just talking about what their needs are, making sure that we can find the correct program for them and support them in the best way. And then we move to assessment and the 6 sessions that I've been talking about. If they're going to attend a group, it would be intake and or assessment, and then move into the group. So we do very thorough safety and risk assessments as well, just for all clients, to make sure if we can, you know, note that there's some things going on, that we're providing the appropriate referrals and that safety is really managed. So I guess that's the end of what I had to present today. And I just wanted to thank you for your time and see if anybody had any questions for me around, you know, the specifics of the Beenleigh area and what services and support Centacare is able to provide there.
Thanks. Thanks for today. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm familiar with Centacare, being based at Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre myself. Yeah. I was aware of 123 Magic, DVAP at the courthouse, the counselling and the Men's Behaviour Change Program, but I didn't realise that you offered so much more. Yeah, I was quite surprised to learn that. So, yeah, no, that's good to know.
We do have quite a few programs that we're able to provide, and I guess the beauty of the support that we can provide is such a wraparound for clients. So if a client is referred to any one of our programs and it's seen that it could be useful for them to be internally referred, the great thing for clients is that if they give their consent, we can share any information that they would like to be shared across programs, so they don't have to keep sharing the story. That's
ideal. So like a single entry point, then wrap around services.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it could come. Sorry.
Yeah, if they give that consent, we work very, very collaboratively across our programs. We use the same client information management system. So that's really beneficial to some families who do want that wraparound support.
Sure. I can't remember, was your referral information on your slides?
Yes.
Ah, there we go.
Put it up there now. So it's I've just got our phone number and email addresses is the best way to refer. Some of the programs have got different referral forms, but if clients were to just call that, or if it was organisations, they're welcome to just on us some more questions if they had a client that we can do case discussion if that's appropriate.
Sure. No, that sounds great. We haven't had any questions as such, but we've had a comment from Wendy, one of our attendees, and she was a panelist today from Caxton Legal Centre. She said worked with Centrecare Brisbane, FRS, also funded and run by Relationships Australia. I'm not sure what she's trying to get at there, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I do know that we do work collaboratively with, different services.
Sure.
Centrecare Brisbane have got, I know that they work, I believe it's with the RA who have the Men's Behaviour Change Program, and we run the women's advocacy side of things. So yeah, we do really enjoy working with different services.
Sure. Well, we're looking. Yeah.
I just saw Wendy's a bit of a.
Are there also RA services or all funding now with Centrecare for family relationship services?
My understanding, I think you're talking about the FARS funding, so the Family and Relationship Services federal funding. I believe it still sits with a number of agencies across Brisbane and the Gold Coast, so I don't think it's just come to Centrecare, no.
Oh, there we go. She says, okay, makes sense. That's great. So we're looking forward to welcoming your counsellors back to Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre sometime soon.
I know.
Hopefully.
It's been a while, hasn't it? COVID has just done a number on us. So
yeah, tell me about it.
It's been hard.
Yeah, I think everybody's going through the same thing at the moment. So, oh well, you'll get back when you get back. And thank you for presenting today. Most grateful. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks everybody for coming.
So in just over 10 minutes time, we'll have Christine Johnston from Seroptimist International's Beenleigh branch discussing the great work that the Seroptimists do, well, throughout the world, but probably more locally in the Beenleigh region. So we'll see you in just over 10 minutes time. Thank you.
Okay, so we're down to our last panelist for the day, and one that I'm looking forward to hearing about actually, and we have who is Christine Johnston, and she's the president of Seroptimist International, specifically for the Beenleigh branch. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Stephanie. Welcome. Fine. Last one for the evening, the afternoon. It's been a fabulous session so far, hasn't it? I've been listening in all day. So good afternoon, and thanks Anthony and the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre for this opportunity to introduce Seroptimist International Beenleigh. So as Stephanie said, my name's Christine Johnston. I'm the current president for 2020 for our club. And I'm also the incoming president of the Federation of the Southwest Pacific. So what does our organisation do? We are a volunteer service organisation worldwide. Our tagline is a global voice for women, working through awareness, advocacy on projects that action, educate, enable and empower women. We promote human rights for all, equality, development and peace. The organisation works together with other non-government organisations at various United Nations agencies to bring about change to make this a better place for this and future generations. So we work on 3 different levels: international, regional and local. So internationally, As I said, we're a service organisation. We've got 78,000 members in 121 countries worldwide. In 2021, Sir Optimus International will be celebrating their centennial year. 100 years of making a difference to the lives of women and girls worldwide. So as a group of 78,000 women, we're very excited about this, to know that we've had strength in the past 100 years doing what we do, and it's certainly a fabulous product and will continue for another 100 years. As an organisation that has been around a long time and has been a global voice for women, we actually hold general consultative status with ECOSOC and have done since 1984. Sir Optimus of the Southwest Pacific, which is our cluster of clubs in the Asia Pacific region, also holds special consultative status with ECOSOC. So what does that mean? It means that as an organisation, we actually do have a voice at the UN. We're able to make written and oral statements on policy, and we're able to attend UN conferences and events. So ECOSOC remains the only entry point for NGO groups worldwide to actually talk with the UN. So as an NGO group, we are able to provide valuable and expert advice to ECOSOC. We recognise that NGOs have special competence, hands-on experience, and we play a very early warnings agent sign by monitoring what's going on at grassroots level. So we raise public awareness and relevant issues. And ECOSOC then, with this recognition, provides us with that voice that we need at the UN. Personally, I have been able to, in the last recent years, be a delegate at these UN meetings. In 2018, I was able to attend the Consultative Status of Women in New York for 2 weeks and help to influence policy there over that 2-week period. And last year, I also attended the regional Beijing Plus 25 regional platform in Bangkok. There's a photo of me there at that conference. It was really enlightening to see the issues that women are facing across that whole Asia Pacific region. So regionally, as I said, we have clubs spread throughout the Asia Pacific area, 12 clubs. You'll see we have clubs in Mongolia over here and Hong Kong, and then spread right across the Pacific down to Australia and New Zealand. Regionally in Australia, Sir Optimus International advocates on behalf of women at our national level, because we are part of the Equal Rights Alliance, one of 6 women's alliances that network with the Australian government. What else do we do regionally? Clubs are able to come forth to the Federation where they find issues at a national level. And 4 years ago, the members in Fiji wanted to do something in regards to domestic violence. They recognised that in Fiji, there wasn't a refuge for women, and they wanted to build one. So collectively, as a group of women, we raised the funds, and you'll see there, Sir Optimus International have built the first refuge in Fiji. This was only taken a couple of weeks ago when they were having an inspection. So we raised the funds, built the property, and it was a long 4 years, I'll tell you. We had lots of issues to get over around building this with government's permission, etc. We even had to fight for septic tanks, can you believe that, and running water, because we thought we really wanted to make sure that this was, and obviously make sure it was cyclone proof too, during the amount of cyclones that they get in Fiji. So we're almost ready to hand this over to the Fijian government. And Sir Optimus will continue to have a hand in the running, and will be, part of that is there's training rooms, so we'll be able to run economic empowerment training sessions for the women who are housed there after their domestic violence situation, so that when they do find themselves after they've had their retraining by us and feel better, that they'll be able to, you know, go out into the community and make a living for themselves. But one of the big pluses that we did achieve over these 4 years too is that the government recognised, can you believe they never had a Minister for Women? So there you'll see their Minister for Women standing here in the middle here, and she was inspecting the home with the Sir Optimus members who helped to build that. Locally, so what do we do locally? So our club was chartered in 1985. Currently we have 14 members. We're all volunteers, obviously, and we strive to be a strong voice for our community. We are a registered charity and we provide programs that, educate and empower women. So domestic violence has been one of the fields that we have worked in for a lot of years. I can, even go back to 1992. This photo here shows the SI Beenleigh members and others using the Beenleigh Cane Parade to advocate against family violence. And I can tell you back then it wasn't actually the thing to do. Domestic violence wasn't as outspoken about as it is now back then. But we got lots of recognition that year. So we continue to raise awareness and work around the domestic violence issue. And since 2011, we've raised and organised our local Walk the Talk event where we can walk through the streets of Beenleigh and have public forums, etc., where we talk about domestic violence and what we can do and how we can advocate for improved services. One of the things we did do is in 2015, we worked with 6 women who, through an art trauma therapy workshop, produced 36 images, which we had printed and exhibited around South Queensland. From there, we produced these books here of the images, along with stories of the women. And we had 8,000 of those printed, and we distributed them all around Queensland. So these books went to medical practitioners, libraries, police stations, schools and courthouses, to name a few. They were very well received and they're very powerful, extremely powerful. Nothing like telling a story. Currently, for several years now, we've been running art therapy trauma workshops for children. These children who have experienced domestic violence, they can be 1 or 2 day trauma workshops. And provide the children with an outlet to work through their trauma with counsellors, and then the counsellors will go on to utilise what they've learnt that day in one-on-one sessions with them. So here's a couple of photos of some of that artwork that was developed. So we never give up the fight. We also provide a dating game. This is a book-sized marked pamphlet explaining inappropriate behaviour. So the audience market for that is teenagers and young adults. We distribute thousands of these pamphlets out each year. So if your organisation feels that they could use this resource, please contact us. So it's a bookmark, it's called The Dating Game, and it just gives little hints about inappropriate behaviour and things to watch out for, as well as contact points if they need to seek help. One of the other things we've done for a number of years now is recognise International Women's Day. So International Women's Day showcases and advocates for equality. It's an international women's organisation by the UN. So gender equality is at the forefront of what we do and continue to do on a daily basis. So this breakfast each year has around 120 people come along to the breakfast. We always have really good quality speakers. But what we like to do at these breakfasts, and have done from day one, is that we like to have students from the local high schools, anything from 25 to 35 students, we will host to that breakfast. So it enables the girls and boys, we do like the boys to come along, because they're part of that whole gender, conversation. So they get to meet their local councillors, they get to meet their members of parliament, they get to hear really good quality speakers and learn about what International Women's Day is and our ongoing struggle for gender equality, because without the 2 voices to the table, we will never achieve gender equality. Another thing that we've done for a lot of years now is that the club provides Target 10 packs to school children in our community. So here we're assisted with by the Helena Jones Correctional Centre. So we supply the material and the women at the Correctional Centre make up the library bags for us. So this enables the Women's Centre to work towards their Cert 4 in sewing, so that when they do leave prison, they actually have a trade behind them. And it provides us with the bags that we can then put all of our 10 essential school items in. These are very well wanted resources right throughout the Beenleigh Logan community. We always have many on hand, and Anthony will attest to this too. He keeps a small supply there as well for when people come in and they just find that they haven't got the financial needs to provide what is required for them to go to school, the children. Education is amazing, and we do need to encourage it. And by making the children feel comfortable with the right equipment means that they can settle down to their education. Earlier this year though, even though we had a huge supply ready for our schools in the Beenleigh area, we decided that as a group of women that we really wanted to help some of those regional areas that had been hardest hit by drought and fire. You know, we know as mothers and as women that back to school expenses are huge. They're really huge. And if you're a community that's just gone through drought and then fire, where are you going to get the money? So we reached out to the Southern Downs Member of Parliament and his staff in their electorate office, put us in touch with some small schools around the Warwick area. And so we rang them up, did some homework, had a bit of a chat, packed up the car and off Gloria. This is one of our members here, Gloria, and another member, Vicky, went. And they did a massive road trip out to Warwick and all the surrounding areas, with the car absolutely full to the brim, as you can see. And so we donated Target 10 packs to the schools. We donated balls, equipment for their sick rooms, you know, new crochet blankets, pillows, etc. Some backpacks as well as some toiletry packs for the parents. Every school was overwhelmed and they were in such desperate need for the school supplies. Christmas hampers, the joy of Christmas. Since we began as a club in 1985, every year the club has worked towards donating food hampers at Christmas. These hampers go to families and single persons who need that extra special love at Christmas. Over the 34 years, the club has probably donated in excess of $50,000 worth of food to families. We love to do this, and we love the Christmas spirit that it brings and the delight when we deliver these to the children and the parents, families. At times, we also deliver toys and special toiletry packs for the women. As a group of women, we are concerned how families will cope this Christmas. You know, we all of us in this service sector here know that the tremendous financial hardship that's going to start to hit has already hit and will continue to hit families as we move through this COVID-19. So how are they going to not only supply toys for the children, but food for the table over the weeks of Christmas? So, but SI Beenleigh, like other organisations, has had our fundraising opportunities curtailed because of COVID-19. So for the first time, we are very concerned that where are we going to get the funds to provide, you know, the thousands of dollars we spend on food each year. So maybe for the first time this year, we will have to reach out to the community to help us help the community. So we're thinking that we'll have donation boxes ready. But that being said, Club Beenleigh, which is a fabulous asset to community groups in the area by allowing community groups to sell raffle tickets, we've got our first raffle night on Sunday night, which is tremendous for us. So hopefully we'll raise a few dollars at our raffle night on Sunday night. So come down to Club Beenleigh, buy yourself a meal and buy yourself a raffle ticket. COVID-19, what have we done to assist? Well, we've mostly, like a lot of other service organisations, focused on our frontline workers and how can we help that. So we've been donating gift packs to different organisations, the Palm Lakes Nursing Home and the Logan Hospital and YFS. We've donated Target 10 packs to Access to help their migrant families help educate their children over lockdown with school supplies. We've worked with other Seroptimus clubs and the St George Church members to make scrub hats for our frontline workers. Beautiful scrub hats, and here you'll see Gloria donating one of many bags of scrub hats to one of the nurses from the Bow Desert Hospital. We've also made face masks, etc. Members personally have been able to contribute to Nightlight, Logan Hospital, Substation 33 and YFS, as well as these here. These bags here, ladies, were, shouldn't say ladies, attendees today, were made once again by the Helena Jones Correctional Centre. So we collect old jeans, we take them up to the ladies, and they just love turning them into handbags. Aren't they amazing? Really great handbags. So we bring them back and fill them with personal care items, and this lot here were donated to Touch of Hope for them to distribute. So we hope to finish the year with an event for everybody, because our communities are stressed, they are anxious, and really what is the new normal? You know, how are we going to cope? So to do that, we've decided that we're going to have a You Are Amazing Wellness Day. It's a free event. We're going to send out invitations in the coming days for Wednesday the 14th of October at the PCYC. We have speakers and workshops all lined up, a full day from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with lunch provided. So we extend an invitation to all. This will be a free event. Due to COVID-19, with space restrictions, we can only have 85 persons on the day. There'll be more, you know, we can have up to 95 or so, but we've got to allow for our members and our speakers and the workshop people. So we'll have breakout sessions over the day, and we'll be having topics such as what is stress, how to deal with anxiety, a couple of fun sessions such as yoga and the Third Age University, some mediation sessions, some food and nutrition, how to apply makeup. So come along, people. It's open to men and women, not just women. And come along, be reinvigorated, and remember that as a human being, you are an amazing person. So here we are. So we extend an invitation to anyone to come and join us and help make a difference. Or we also extend an invitation to the other service providers who have been on the session today, that if you can use any of our resources or want us to assist you in any way, we are certainly here as a women's organisation to help make a difference in our community. And thank you, Anthony and the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre, for allowing us to tell you what Seroptimus International does. Oh, one more thing. Seroptimus. It's a strange name, isn't it? It's a Latin name. It means sorrow for the best of, and womanhood, and optima for the best of. So sorrow for sister and optima for the best of. All right. Thanks a lot for having me today, Anthony. Oh, Stefanie, sorry. Thank you.
No, it's fine.
much more beautiful than Anthony.
Don't tell him that. No, I think I'm a little bit lost for words. That was absolutely fabulous, Christine, and thank you for
I heard that.
Thank you for sharing those stories and those photos. I mean, 4 years for that shelter in Fiji.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. And all that work just to get running water. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I've worked with a few organisations that have delivered programs around photo voice, and it's such an amazing way to give a voice to women and men and children, and it's just a different way, but it's so powerful. So it's great what you did with that domestic violence.
Yeah, and look, Stefanie, we still have those 36 images, and we do loan them out. And no matter, whenever we put them on display, it really does tell the story, and it's very powerful. And we've seen time and time again how women who have bottled up domestic violence, have never come forward and spoken about it in their life, will actually then come out and realise that they need help. It has that much power. We've seen it time and time again. So if any of the organisations today want to partner with us or do something around another exhibition, we'd be very happy to run one again.
Wonderful. And there's a few comments here, Christine, for you. So from Cheryl of Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre, so Optimists are an amazing group of women who the Beenleigh Neighbourhood Centre has had the pleasure of working with over many years. Well done, ladies.
Thank you.
From Anthony, the Target 10 bags are always a hit and we are very grateful to receive them. And from Wendy, love your dedication, Christine. We have met each other at a few events and I applaud the work you and the group does.
Right, thank you.
Wonderful. And just a question for you, is there any sort of talk around how you guys will be celebrating the 100 years next year?
There is some talk. One of the things is we're getting out to clubs to do 100 acts of kindness. So whilst we do grassroots projects, we're just suggesting that where we do like our Target 10, that we donate 100 Target 10 packs, you know, but we do thousands anyway in a year. But so we'll multiply things. So if when we sometimes do reading at the Beenleigh Primary School, you know, we might multiply that to 100 hours, that type of thing. Yeah, there's a few other things coming up, but they're still in the planning stages.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, in the meantime, we look forward to the invitations to the You Are Amazing Wellness Day coming up in October, and I'm sure, once you send those through, even Anthony can send them out to all the attendees and panelists who are
that's right. Each one of the people today have probably got some men or women they know who would certainly benefit from such a day. Yeah.
Brilliant, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Christine, for taking the time to join us and for joining the other presentations today over the conference. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep listening tomorrow. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of the Beenleigh District Not-for-Profit Virtual Conference, and it was such a fabulous day. I don't know what you thought, Anthony, but like it was so amazing to hear from such a diverse range of organisations and roles, and such an incredible vast range of programs and services being offered to the Beenleigh community, both within our COVID times and outside as well.
To be honest with you, Stefanie, I'm overwhelmed with just the breadth of services available, and not just the services, but the dedication of the people that were here today and the dedication of the people behind the scenes in their organisations. It's, okay, a lot of us might get paid for what we do, but people in the not-for-profit sector, they go above and beyond. Everyone knows that. Yeah, the work day doesn't finish at 4 or 5 o'clock. It keeps going. So I thank everybody in the sector for their dedication. Champions.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So thank you for everyone who joined us today. We were actually shocked to see that some people just stayed online all day to listen in, which is absolutely fabulous. So thank you for that. Day 2 commences at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we're looking forward to seeing you then for another day of fabulous presentations and meeting of people.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it very much. If it's anything like today, I think we're going to have a fantastic day. We've got a decent lineup. We've got Southern Cross Care, Homewards Assisted Returns Program, the Logan Together Backbone Team, Continence Foundation of Australia, Brook Red, and that's just a few. So another busy full day, which is, it's going to be great, and we can keep that information sharing and exchanging going.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely, relaxing evening.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.